like to call the meeting to order. Please rise if you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you all for coming today. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Moore,
Present.
Councilman Neely,
Present.
Councilman Iacili,
Present.
Councilman Pell,
Here.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Thank you. I move to approve the minutes from the Town Board meeting of January 27th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the communications?
The following communications have been received in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, letter of permission for a proposed pier in Meadow Lane, Southampton Village, New York State Empire State Development, virtual hearing on February 13th, New York State Office of Cannabis Management notification to municipality for the listed entity, Town of East Hampton public hearing notice to modify requirements applicable to accessory dwelling units, Village of West Hampton Beach Planning Board, a public hearing notice for Dune Road, West Hampton Beach. Correspondence regarding the following has been received. Conservation Board matter of 67 Clearview Drive, Noyak, inquiry regarding potential purchase of town-owned property, optimum program notice for changes with MLB Network LLC, Planning Board matter of Propane Depot, proposed amendments to Chapter 111, prohibit private docks in Peconic Bay, proposed amendments to Chapter 111, special parking permits, proposed amendments to Chapter 330, land disturbance ordinance, proposed sewer treatment facility, Hampton Bays. And the following report was filed from the Town Comptroller for the January 2026 monthly financial reports. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
Thank you. I received 5 walk-on resolutions. The first is Town Board Resolution ID number 2026-0393 to reallocate Community Organization Specialist title to a new grade. The second is Town Board Resolution ID number 2026-0404 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract amendment with Passport Labs, Inc. to furnish and install integrated parking management. The third is Town Board Resolution ID number 2026-0405, a notice of public hearing to consider amending Town Code Chapter 111, Beaches, Parks, and Waterways, as it relates to particular parking permits. Fourth is Town Board Resolution ID number 2026-0409, which is the warrant number 3, and the last is Town Board Resolution ID number 2026-0412 to terminate a minibus driver in the Housing Department. I move to add these 5 resolutions to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That brings us to our public hearings. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the first public hearing?
Public hearing number 1, to consider the acquisition of 13 Cove Road North in the hamlet of North Sea, New York, and amend the CPF management stewardship plan to include the property.
Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor, Town Council members, Jackie Fenlon, Community Preservation Director for the Town of Southampton. We are here before you today to look at the property owned by Stephen Lancia and Virginia Diacoma. This property is a 0.5-acre property located at 13 Cove Road North in the hamlet of North Sea. Excuse me. The tax map number is 900-61-1-7. This property and the owners have expressed an interest in selling the property to the Town of Southampton Community Preservation for $175,000. This is designated in the Community Preservation Project Plan under the wetland target area and contains freshwater wetlands and provides a valuable habitat for wildlife. So the wetlands target area, as provided in the resolution, is a very fragile, indispensable natural resource, which is very important to the environment and, of course, the economic health of the town. So we're here before you today. Do you have any questions? It is the property right behind me, right here.
Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions for Jackie?
No.
I don't have any cards for this public hearing. Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak?
No one on Zoom.
Okay. Well, since there's no comments or questions, then I move to close this first public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the second public hearing?
Public hearing number 2, to consider the acquisition of 130 Old Riverhead Road West in the hamlet of Hampton Bays for water quality purposes and amend the CPF project plan and the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
Okay. So this property is a 30.8 acre property. Good afternoon again, Jackie Fenlon for the Town of Southampton CPF manager. So this is the property that you'll see in the middle area right here, which is located at 130 Old Riverhead Road West in the hamlet of Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-205-1-1.003. This property is owned by Hogan Southampton LLC, the purported owners of the property, and they have expressed an interest in selling the property for $3,200,000. Because of the unique location, this property has road frontages and has been identified as an appropriate area for CPF water quality funds, as well as it being on the Jackson Avenue Road where there are existing town facilities. So this would be a property where the town is looking to carve out approximately 4.8 acres with town general funding, So that is the area that you can see crosshatched right here. So those would be for future general town purposes. It could be used for an expansion of a facility, a parking lot, anything that the town sees fit. So those would not be restricted for CPF purposes. And then the remainder of the property, the 23.32 acres, would be a property that we're looking at to serve both the goals of the existing community project plan, which is identified under the Central Pine Barrens Critical Resource and Open Space Target Area. And then also because of recent evaluation and looking at a location for a future Hampton Bays STP, this is also going to serve water quality initiatives for the town. So part of the findings within the resolution is that town studies have estimated that sewer infrastructure for the Hampton Bays business corridor will result in estimated reduction of nitrogen pollution by 50% due to the elimination of existing cesspools and individual septic systems, and therefore wastewater treatment is a primary objective of the town. The CPF water quality funds can be utilized for water quality improvement purchases, including water quality recharge, as well as the wastewater treatment infrastructure and facility. So we have made a finding in the resolution that this is appropriate. This has been reviewed by the town's Water Quality Advisory Board as a location for a future STP, as well as the Department of Land Management and Long Range Planning. So, and this is uniquely suited because it's just north of the Hampton Bays Hamlet and Hampton Bays main corridor, and it's also very, close to the existing facilities. Obviously, the police station here, Red Creek Park, as well as the transfer facility. So, we're looking at this, and just I want to be very clear with the funding. The 23.32 acres would be purchased by CPF. And then the 4.8 acres would be purchased through town general funds. So that town general would be in the amount of $465,600, and then the remaining financial impact, would be $2,734,000, and $400 would be coming out of CPF water quality funds. And then if you'd like to have any other information, we have Janice Shearer, the land management administrator, here to answer any questions, as well as her engineer from Hayduck Engineering.
Yes, thank you, Jackie. So, Steve, why don't you come on up and introduce yourself? And I think we have some, you have some information here to share with the board and the community.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Steve Hayduck from Hayduck Engineering. Thanks for having me. This is, I provided a color site plan showing a conceptual layout for the sewage treatment plant. This has not been fully designed yet. This is just a potential layout that could fit on the property. In essence, we have a sewage treatment plant building that is roughly 100 feet by 200 feet long. This contains all of the process tanks and the equipment required to do wastewater treatment. We have the effluent recharge beds, which is where the treated wastewater would go after it's gone through the process. We have this area reserved up here, which is for stormwater management, just for the property itself. We believe that's a pretty conservative sizing for a stormwater recharge area. We're showing all the setback requirements for the building and for the recharge beds on the plan, which I will point out to you. So we have from the building to a property line, the health department standard is 150-foot setback. From the building to a habitable dwelling, we have 200-foot setback, shown right here. From the recharge beds, it is 300 feet to a property line and 400 feet to a dwelling. And that's essentially what we have here on the site plan.
The building itself would be fully enclosed,
Correct.
and you said the recharge beds are just capturing treated effluent.
That's correct. With respect to discharge of treated wastewater, you basically have two options. You can either put them in below-grade leaching pools or open recharge beds. And the discharge limit for treated wastewater is 10 milligrams per liter typically of total nitrogen in the effluent, which is below the safe drinking water standard.
Steve, what is the difference between a STP and that's treatment versus like an alternative IA system?
Sure. So innovative and alternative on-site wastewater treatment systems are required for all new construction in Suffolk County, but they're not allowed to be used for density purposes. So if you're proposing a development that is over the allowable, and I apologize, it's a little dense, pun intended, but the allowable sanitary yield of that site, then you have to provide wastewater treatment. So the standard right now with the IA systems is that they treat wastewater to about 19 milligrams per liter or less. An advanced wastewater treatment system like this would have to discharge less than 10 milligrams per liter. So it's a more advanced form of treatment, much more sophisticated.
And then just based on what I know of what we've been discussing with the Riverside STP, basically the smelly part of the operation would take place in that enclosed building with obviously mitigation in place to capture any odors.
Yeah, that's correct. So typically, believe it or not, in a wastewater treatment plant, most of the process is not smelly. You know, that's kind of a common misconception. There are certain areas where, like, raw wastewater is entering the building that you have to have special HVAC requirements in those spaces for various reasons, and we provide odor control facilities. So it's literally drawing all the air that's inside the wastewater treatment plant, treating it, so there should be no odors experienced near the facility.
Steve, is this below or above the right-of-way that the trail goes through there, the dirt road?
This is
Look on-
below. I think if you're talking about this roadway here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it, but yeah, it's just south of it.
Okay, goes to Penny Pond. Because people would want to know that.
Just how did we get to this point, maybe we talk about that.
Would you want to just share with us, how you evaluated all the properties as our
Yeah, sure.
consultant and landed on this one as the most appropriate?
Absolutely. So basically, we started this assignment to look at what could a potential sewer district boundary look like to service Hampton Bays. And we identified, in working with planning, basically from Old Riverhead Road to East Tiana Road as being the main commercial corridor that could benefit from some revitalization and redevelopment. So we looked at basically every property within 1 mile of that boundary for potential use as a wastewater treatment facility. We created a weighted rubric, which we had reviewed every single one of those properties for things like flood protection, whether it's in a flood zone or not, distance to the service area, so the further away it is from the service area, the more costly it's going to be to get the wastewater there, depth to groundwater, the actual parcel size itself, because we have to meet Suffolk County Department of Health Services setback distances, like I just outlined, all those dashed lines on this plan here. We looked at potential impacts to public wells, and we had a hydrogeologist look at potential impacts to public wells. and for water supply purposes. Proximity to residential properties from the environment. We looked at plants and animals and potential wetlands that could impact the treatment plant sites. And then like land acquisition type considerations, like who owns the property, whether there's open space status on the property, or whether it's in the Pine Barrens. So we looked at every potential, property within 1 mile, and we identified a short list of properties that we took a closer look at that could have potential, and then weighted all of these factors to come up with the few that we felt had potential. And we identified this one as being one of the ones with the highest potential.
Okay. And with the plant and the leaching fields, what's the total acreage that you would need?
I believe we estimated about 6 acres. So that's approximately what we have here. That may not have included the stormwater recharge area. I'd have to recalculate it for that. Because again, this was just done at a very conceptual level sizing. So we feel that this is a conservative footprint. It could potentially get smaller. And that was the other thing to note, is that in the study that we prepared, we looked at different, in order to come up with this, we looked at the existing water consumption records within that entire boundary during winter and summer months, and came up with an existing flow rate of, I think it was about 186,000 gallons a day that would need to be treated. And then we looked at potential development scenarios and came up with a range. I believe it was about 300,000 gallons per day on the low end for a redevelopment scenario, and I believe it was 550,000 gallons a day at the high end. So this layout is showing the high end, most, potentially the largest that would be on the site to service that area.
And also, the Board of Health makes you engineer well past what your actual flow is going to be. So even though the numbers seem huge, they make you go above and beyond what the actual flow is anticipated at, right?
Correct, in the sense that the Suffolk County Health Department has standard flow rates for every different type of use of development, whether it's a retail store, a restaurant, multifamily, assisted living, planned retirement community. They have different flow rates for each one of those types of uses. So then based on those types of uses and the quantities that we developed in working with planning, we came up with those flow rates. And they're typically very conservative. We see that in most of the actual operating sewage treatment plants that we're involved in, flow rates can be anywhere from, on the low end, 50% of the design flow, or even less in some cases, to typically about 75%. So there's always some built-in buffer, if you want to call it that, in the design of the facility.
Okay.
And then the other thing I would note is that there's redundancy built into the treatment facilities. So, if we did this as a 2 or 3 train process, meaning one train needs to be able to handle all of the flow so that the other train can be brought out, taken offline for maintenance or for service. So there's also redundancy built in that respect. Every piece of equipment in the treatment facility, there's redundancy there. So if you only really need one pump, you're providing 2 or sometimes 3, and things of that nature. And we provide emergency generators in the case of a power failure or something like that. It's pretty well established to consider really almost all situations.
Well, thank you. Why don't you take a seat? We have several people that would like to speak and express their thoughts on this, and then we might ask you to come back up to respond. All right, the first speaker is Edwin Rifkin, and after Edwin is Gail Lombardi.
Good afternoon, and first of all, thank you for your service to this town. I'm a relatively new resident. I've lived in Hampton Bays for about 4 years. Recently relocated to a place just about here, actually. So I'm here out of concern for the placement or the plan. Very impressed with all of the planning that is involved with such an important consideration. I am here to register my concern and objection to the acquisition because of the proximity to recently acquired home. There are about 20 homes in our subdivision which are immediately across from Red Creek Park, probably the pride of Hampton Bays in terms of utility of public space, and the proximity of what you're planning or what is proposed to that facility concerns me tremendously. I have heard, and I'm reassured to a certain degree, that There's redundancy and all sorts of odorless future for this facility. Nevertheless, as a property owner who's recently acquired a personal home, I'm here to represent the face of someone who could be directly affected by this decision. And so I'm appealing to you as leaders of this community to put the brakes on, downshift a little bit, take a little more time, and think about other places where this could go. I'm not knowledgeable, I'm not an engineer, I'm not knowledgeable about anything that's been discussed here thus far. My concern is clearly environmental impact and residential utility. I would hate to see Red Creek Park used less. If anything, it looks like it's about to really realize its full potential for public service. And so my concern is very personal and individual. You are leaders, but you are there because individuals have put you there. And so I think you should hear a voice of someone genuinely concerned. That's what I'm here for. So I don't know if there are any questions. I don't think I could give you any answers, honestly. But thank you for your service. It really means a lot to this community.
Well, thank you for coming and participating. So next is Gail Lombardi, and after Gail is Jacques Comer.
This is in a very dangerous spot. Oh, my God. For people to get up and get to the podium. Just saying.
Yes, please, Steve.
I shouldn't have had to ask. First, I want to state that I spend a substantial amount of time preparing for these public hearings, and it takes every ounce of my being to speak at this podium, especially with the vision loss. I respectfully request that you allow me my few minutes without the 30-minute rebuttals that have recently taken place, reminiscent of the Schneiderman administration. On the issue at hand, this seems that the town has corrupted the legislative intent and potentially violating the legal requirements of the use of water quality funds with this proposed acquisition. These funds are not intended to create new growth. Section 140.33 states that the town board needs to certify to a water quality project by resolution. Subsection C6 states that the town board shall not certify projects which accommodate new or additional growth. But for the construction of the sewage treatment plant, new growth along the business corridor would not be viable. As such, without the construction of the sewage treatment plant, there would be zero nitrogen pollution from the new growth. The existing nitrogen pollution can be reduced by or eliminated in other ways. To use nitrogen reducing for this for this project is really disingenuous. The purchase of the site for the construction of a sewage treatment plant and the development of additional town facilities appears inconsistent with the current zoning, environmentally sensitive area, and the neighboring residential properties. The property zoned CR 120 is in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District and in the Pine Barrens and does have residential properties nearby. Not only that one, but there's a new one that was approved by the planning board not too long ago. The construction of a sewage treatment plant and the change in the allowable use of this site has the presumption that it is likely to have a significant adverse impact in the environment under SECRA, and a full environmental review and environmental impact statement should be conducted. Based on the town's records, the property is assessed at $239,000, and the fair market value is $341,000, and the town's reported purchase price is $3.2 million. In closing, a sewage treatment plant should not be another tool for the development and feed the development beast when there is real nitrogen pollution that needs to be considered. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Jacques Comer, and after Jacques is Suzanne Smith.
I actually wanted to speak on the gas station, so I could wait.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Suzanne Smith, Hampton Bays. I just have a statement and a question. And my statement is in regard to the sewer system treatment plant. I am now and have always been under the impression that the project only started because Mr. Caiola wanted to develop his land. I know for sure I have heard the words used in the beginning of this idea, and this is 2 to 3 years ago, if not longer. It all goes away for me. He would need a sewage treatment plant to get the permits he needs. My question to the board is, were there plans for this sewage treatment plant before Mr. Caiola bought up his idea to build a new Main Street and apartments? I believe this is a yes or no question, and please be honest with me. And if the answer is yes, will I be given the opportunity to see these plans on paper?
We don't know the answer to that. Most of us weren't here at that time.
So there's no records?
I mean, there may be, but we don't have the answer as we sit here right now, so it's something we could look into and get back to you.
Okay. So do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
So nobody knows if there was ever a sewer plant in the process of being this is just new?
No, as we came to the board, we understood that there was a need for wastewater treatment in downtown Hampton Bays, and it's going to treat all the properties in the downtown corridor, and it's going to create a 50% reduction in the nitrogen. So yes, there'll be room for some development, but the main thrust is for the water quality, and that's where the funds will be directed.
And then I have one more question. After this gentleman spoke, I have another question. May I?
Not a question and answer, but if you'd like to ask your question, and we can get back to you.
Okay, so the town is purchasing 4-point-something acres purchased by the town, and the rest will be used for preserved land. But this gentleman just said that, or I don't know where he is over there. He said this plant is using 6 acres, and you're only buying 4-point-something. Who's paying for the other?
The total property is 30 acres.
Yes.
We need at least 6 for the wastewater treatment plant. We're carving off just 4 in that rectangular piece because that's not needed. So we're buying it with town general funds in case we need it for something in the future, parking perhaps. You know,
Or a
we just-
larger treatment plant?
Well, that's not likely.
No, if it's not,
Is that a no? Did I hear someone say no?
That's not the location of the sewer treatment.
Yeah, that's not,
The 4 acres that the supervisor is mentioning is on the corner of
Jimmy, myself.
Riverhead Road and close, near the police station, so it's across from the police station. So it's nowhere, it's not adjacent to the proposed STP site.
All right, so then I'm just very confused.
well, once you buy property with community, funding money, you
But
can't
that's
use it for
preserved
anything else.
land.
Right, so we carved off this rectangular 4 acres so that we could use it for something else in the future. Just, we don't know right now, but we just thought it was appropriate to keep that out of the preserved or wastewater
All right, so
treatment.
I would like someone to get back to me about plans for the treatment plant. If this was just so Mr. Caiola could make a new downtown Hampton Bays.
I mean, my understanding was that Mr. Caiola was going to build his own sewer treatment plant on Cemetery Road, and that was, I don't know whatever happened to that. That's just what I was told, but that didn't occur.
There's no official
And
plan.
it's certainly,
There's no official plan.
not that he filed
No,
with us.
there
That
is
was
no,
just
I
talk.
understand there's no official plan, but I just want to know whether this sewer treatment plant was proposed any time before Mr. Caiola came into the question.
We'll have to find out.
Okay,
We have
thank you.
your number.
so Supervisor, before you continue, because I think this is important, and I have the benefit of being, I think, the only person on the board that was here when this all started, And this is not something that the town board put forward. This was a discussion. There was a plan by Mr. Kiola to do some development downtown. He was going to put the wastewater treatment he needed for his development on site. As a result of the conversations that we had about the revitalization of downtown, Kiola or no Kiola, the Hampton Bays community overwhelmingly requested, and this was again and again and again, and our town attorney can back me up on this, that people said, aside from the development, we absolutely need to be putting sewers in, because the fact that all these separate properties are on different septic systems is archaic, and if we want any further development, we have to look at a real, like, modern way to treat our wastewater. And, you know, with Shinnecock Bay being a hope spot now, and, you know, the people of Hampton Bays, maybe people don't agree on how much development they want downtown, but I think everybody is in agreement on they would like to see more shops, they would like to see more restaurants. Things that will only increase the property values of neighboring homes if you have a vibrant downtown. So we then undertook this study to find out, okay, if not downtown, where do we put this? And that's when all the different sites were looked at, and ironically, it was the site next to the town transfer station, which is where the majority of the residents that opposed Mr. Kiola putting one on site on Cemetery Lane or Cemetery Way, had said, why don't you put it up at the dump? It should be up at the dump. So ironically, that's what we're talking about, next to the transfer station. And sir, you haven't lived there, well, I mean, I'm sure you're gonna have smells from the composting that goes on at the transfer station and those types of things, but this is, well, this is not gonna produce any, I mean, it's all enclosed indoors. We're putting one in Riverside next to a public school. This is modern technology, and from visiting sites and having conversations with the engineers, I feel confident that we're not doing anything to harm your property values where you're located. So, you know, this was asked for by the Hampton Bays community. They
And I'll
wanted
just
this.
add that anytime I go to a Hampton Bays civic meeting or beautification or any of the community meetings in Hampton Bays, I am always asked, when are we getting that sewer treatment plant? When is the wastewater facility getting constructed? What's taking so long? So, I mean, there certainly is community support for it.
And the other point to that is, this is step one in a very long process. I mean, the sewage treatment plant itself, there's a map plan and report, there's public hearings, there's environmental studies, there's all of these things that have to occur, but we can't have that discussion unless the property is purchased with water quality funds. If it's not purchased with water quality funds, this site is out of the equation entirely, we can't even discuss it. So this is step one in a multi-year process.
How long have we been working on the one up in Flanders?
Riverside?
How many years?
Well, you
Entire
can't
time I've
really
been on
count
board.
that because
Yeah, 10 years.
I think it dropped off and then came back. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the next speaker, thank you, is Eileen McPhalen, and that's it on this one.
No. Yeah, I put in a notice to speak on this one. Me too.
A yellow card?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, yep, stuck in the back. Got it, okay.
Hi, Madam Supervisor and council people. A few questions about this. Just to know, will it service anybody or anywhere besides downtown Hampton Bays?
No, it's for the business corridor.
And noise and light pollution?
Expect that residents would use the new IA septic technology.
Noise and light pollution? Do we have anything to compare it to? Can we go somewhere that you know of and check out a sewage treatment plant so that we can experience what it's like when it's running? And one in West Hampton?
There's one in West Hampton up by Gabreski Airport. But,
And is it?
you know, they wouldn't be, I don't think you can just access it. You'd need special
county.
permission from the county.
It's gated off.
Yeah.
But if we were to go to the sewage treatment plant at Kabreski, we can just go by it, we could see it, hear it?
I don't think you can get that close to it, but it's, you know, it's fully enclosed. You don't smell anything till you're inside of it.
There's also one right up the road across from Southampton Hospital.
Oh, that's true.
That's
Yeah, it's been there for 30 years or more.
And that's all my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Frederick Stern and then Michael Hillebrand.
Good afternoon. Approval of the proposed amendment to the CPF management plan to change the designation of the 31-acre property at 130 Old Riverhead Road from Central Pine Barrens Critical Resource Open Space Target Area to Aquifer Recharge or Water Quality Target Area is to facilitate the construction of a sewage treatment plant designed to accommodate a wastewater flow of 550,000 gallons a day, is all of which having been generated outside the protected area and piped into it, is to distort the plan beyond recognition. The proposed STP would produce no water quality improvements to justify the use of CPF funds, but it would facilitate development. That development would take place in an area within an area designated a critical resource open space target area located in the Central Pine Barrens, an area in which property owners have been required to surrender property rights to the public good, that public good for which they have been asked to sacrifice, as set forth in the Pine Barrens Act, is for the purpose of safeguarding the ecological and hydrological resources of the Pine Barrens, with respect to which this proposal would clearly have a deleterious effect. The proposed reclassification in the SDP would facilitate, or in fact, a slap in the face to those property owners, because having been asked to make those sacrifices, they will now be asked to accept the removal of at least 6 acres of forested land, given the highest priority for preservation, to accommodate a sewage treatment plant designed to pump wastewater into the Central Pine Barrens from outside the protected area. This is expressly prohibited by the Pine Barrens Act. The 550,000 gallons per day flow and the proposed SDP is designed to accommodate almost 3 times the existing flow rate at its heaviest. And I am advised by professionals that the 186,000 gallon flow rate utilized in its justification for the proposal itself is itself a gross exaggeration, because it represents peak summer flow rate, and at that time of year, at least 70% of that rate, of that flow, represents irrigation runoff. This, in turn, suggests that the purported reduction in nitrogen emissions offered to justify the placement of the SDP within the critical resource area is also a fallacy, because the discharge rates used to justify that conclusion are not real. We've provided for the record a letter from Ben Cansemi, a senior hydrologist with FPM Group, an engineering and environmental science firm, who states in no uncertain terms that the contemplated SDP should not be considered because of the numerous adverse impacts it will have on the affected aquifers and
30
watersheds.
seconds.
I'm sorry?
30 seconds.
Okay, I'm wrapping up. All right. He states that degradation of the watershed and not improvement is the inevitable result of the proposed plant. It's particularly noteworthy that rather than reduce nitrogen flows within the protected area, which obviously, again, the reason offered in support of the classification changed, he concludes that the inevitable effluent discharges will occur even if the most advanced technology is utilized and will actually increase nitrogen flows.
3 minutes.
Can I wrap up? In addition to the other chemical flow, this is in addition to the other chemical flows into the groundwater associated with the operations of STPs, even if the most advanced technology is utilized. The importation of sewage from outside the Central Pine Barrens into a critical resource open space area is obviously in itself an affront to both the letter and the purposes of the Act, and to the residents of the area whose sacrifices are required to achieve the goals of the Act. And those goals are worthy and important. And to surrender the fruits of those sacrifices to accommodate construction of a sewage treatment plant, to accommodate something in the neighborhood of 10 times the actual peak volume of wastewater generated, is clearly to facilitate development, and not for the purpose of.
We have a lot of people who want to speak, so you really have to wrap it up.
Okay. I'm just doing that.
4 minutes.
For
It's not fair to the other
for all
people.
of the same reasons, and I'm wrapping up. I tried to craft this, so it wouldn't be longer than that, but obviously I failed a little bit, but I'm almost done. For all the same reasons, the reclassification with respect to the CFP is ultra vires and actually antithetical to the purposes of the Community Preservation Trust, the express purpose of which is to protect, not alter, community character by identifying properties, especially high-priority properties like this one, so that they can be acquired and preserved. This property is identified in the Suffolk County Master List of properties to be acquired for open space and could be acquired for that purpose.
Mr. Stern, why don't you provide us with a copy of your comments so that we can all...
Just hand it in.
I'm finished. Now, I could go on, I could talk about the specifics of the overlay district and the Pine Barrens Protection Plan.
That's
both
good.
of which
Just
are also
please.
offended.
We have a lot of people who want to talk. Hand it in to
I will
the town
distribute it to the town board if
read
you
it
submit
later.
it to me.
Okay, all right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. But for these reasons, I ask that the board reject the proposal.
Do you want to submit it?
Next is Michael
clerk. You wanna hand it
Hillebrand.
in?
Thank you.
Hillebrand, 44 Flanders Road. I live right here, and I dare anyone I don't want you to say, this is gonna improve my value of my home. This is the worst place you
Speak
could
in
put
the
it.
Can't hear you if you're not at the
This
microphone.
is the worst place that you could put it. This is the worst thing, except for something getting sick, that happened to me. My parents bought this 35 years ago. We've been here 35 years. This breaks every rule. There's 3 miles to the next house going up west. I'm going to read really quickly so I can get it so I don't get cut off. I'm opposing the amended CPF project plan to reclassify the subject property listed above, which is currently designated under the Central Pine Barrens Critical Resource Area, target area to aquifer recharge, water quality target area. The town is proposing this change in designation to construct a sewage treatment plant. The sewer treatment plant does not comply with any local, regional, or regulation. This proposal is opposite of aquifer recharge and contrary to the directions of the Community Preservation Fund. It does not preserve the character of the community, but rather promotes growth. It does not preserve the environment, but rather destroys it. It does not improve the water quality of the area, but rather diminishes it. All this area goes up to Flanders Bay. All this area goes down to Tiana Bay. So there's no benefit for anyone up here. It's a completely, this is just destruction. The property is important to preserve and is not a suitable location for a sewer plant. The subject property is in Peconic Estuary Program Boundary and the Flanders Bay watershed. Flanders Bay is an impaired water body. The construction of the proposed wastewater facility will require the removal of 6 acres of forested land. Wastewater originating outside of Flanders Bay watershed will be discharged into the boundary. Water quality cannot be enhanced by introducing treated wastewater, and losing natural recharge only worsens the situation. The Community Preservation Project Fund states preservation of community character shall include the protection and improvement of the quality of all water resources. The subject property is in a critical resource area of the compatible growth area of the Central Pine Barrens and is protected by Central Pine Barren regulations. It is not in a receiving area for additional density. The Central Pine Barrens Comprehensive Plan states that sewage treatment plant discharge shall be outside and down gradient of the Central Pine Barrens. The town is proposing to discharge wastewater originating outside the Pine Barrens into the Pine Barrens, which is expressly against the standards. The proposed plant location is the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. CPF plan calls for the preservation of the aquifer recharge areas to preserve community character. This property is on a Suffolk County Master List of properties acquired for open space.
30 seconds.
Okay. The primary goal of this wastewater facility is future growth. This runs directly contrary to CPF directives of community preservation. Town of Southampton, Hampton Bay's sewer planning study has a sewer plant requirement of 550,000 gallons per day. Existing flow is 186, and it's much lower than that. They actually considered projected existing flow, whatever that is. And the 50% is nowhere near 50%. They keep on saying 50%. If you do the numbers, it's way below 50%.
3 minutes.
Okay. All right. Town board shall not certify projects which accommodate new or additional growth, period. oppose it. I oppose it, and I'll do anything to stop it.
Thank you. All right, Christine Taylor. She was here.
Should go outside, maybe?
Well,
I think she's talking to Sean.
oh, here she is.
Sorry about that.
Come on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see you. My name is Christine Taylor. I apologize, I did not come with anything printed out. I didn't even know I was going to be able to be here today. So I just want to speak on behalf of not entirely the chamber, not entirely, everybody, but I just want to speak on behalf of a lot of the business owners that are on Main Street in downtown. I'm sure you all are aware of what's going on with the septic systems in downtown, how they're overflowing, they're having massive issues, leaching into the groundwater underneath. It's a big problem, and it's a problem that really can't be fixed without some type of whole sewer district type of thing, without ripping up entire Main Street and redoing every septic system that's been there for years. I mean, most of the buildings are pretty outdated. Not outdated, but just they've been there for a very long time, so their septic systems are not as beneficial. So I think, while we may not all agree on what we want to come from the sewer district, or from the sewer plant going in, I think it's something we need to think about for the health of everyone, especially those who live around Main Street, who all that septic and is leaching into the waters that is going into their areas. So, what comes after the sewer treatment plant is a whole nother thing. I don't know a ton about sewer treatment plants. I know that they are contained inside walls, which makes them so they're not as stinky. Being from Florida, we have a lot of issues like where they've had to go to sewer treatment plants, and I've found them in Florida to be very beneficial. They, have helped out tremendously. They don't have the leaching. They are contained. They don't have the backup areas. A lot of people are used to septic systems in the city, or sewer systems in the city. Completely different ballgame than what was, put in the city many, many years ago. But I think it's not just a way of progressing forward, because unfortunately we're at this place, we can't go backwards and undo what's already been done. We need to make sure we're protecting things moving forward. But also, I think it's a way for progress to keep up with everything so that, eventually one of these days, like if you look at Mashut, just to use an example, has anybody been to Mashut Beach, on a busy summer day? You get the smell of sewage, and you will actually see puddles of sewage coming up in the parking lot. Now, that's a county park, it's not a town park, just so let me disclose that. But it's actually coming up through the ground into there, and you're walking through piles of sewage, basically. 30 seconds. They're always there. So the point being is we don't want that to happen to Main Street. I think the sewer treatment plant is important for the development of downtown, whichever way it should go, just the businesses who are already there being able to add a cafe, because nothing can be changed right now. No access, if we want to get rid of some of the hair salons, the nail salons, some of those things that we have abundance of, not that we want them to go, but if we want to offer more options, we need to have a sewer treatment plant so new cafes, restaurants, a breakfast place can come in and actually have the proper plumbing and everything that we need in that aspect. Like I
Thank
said,
you.
I'm sorry,
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
really
you.
underprepared, but,
No,
all right,
very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for this second public hearing?
Yes, there is. I'll bring them in now.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. I just want to agree with all of my neighbors and concerned citizens that are in opposition to this.
Could you please identify yourself for the record, sir?
My name is Christopher Galata. I live at 19 Greenway Court, Hampton Bays, New York. Just for clarification, one of the town board members indicated that she believed that putting in a waste treatment or sewer treatment plant would add value to the local houses. I would vehemently oppose that and also correct her by pointing out that we don't have a dump in that area. It's a recycle center, completely different creatures. I would also like to ask if any of the town board members live in this immediate vicinity. And I'd also like to point out that if the local businesses historically didn't invest any of their profits in building the proper infrastructure in their septic systems, the fact that that's become an issue now that's foisted upon the wonderful purpose of the Pine Barrens and the whole purpose and the whole reason that people love the Hamptons and what's special about it just seems completely misplaced. I'd also like to point out that that if you think these nice engineering reports that only speak to how wonderful it's going to be are accurate, I would ask that you have that engineer come back after I speak and address the fact that the Bay Park sewage treatment plant in East Rockaway was damaged and 100 million gallons of raw sewage leaked into Hewlett Bay. Port Jefferson Station had a similar issue. Port Jefferson sewage treatment plant, 30,000 gallons of partially treated sewage. Where's that going to go? Long Beach sewage treatment plant had a 45-degree angle issue in their secondary digester that failed. They had to spend $25,000 a week to haul the undigested sludge to New Jersey. This also happened in East Farmingdale. So while all these plants sound well and good, and while I understand that the local businesses want to continue to grow and make more profits, and I'm all for that, I live in a community that has invested recently in seeing that happen and helping the community, but we didn't invest in the community to see the whole purpose of the Pine Barren Peconic Bay Tax Fund completely undermined to subsidize the local business owners' desire for growth or profits or lack of proper planning. So I think the issue ought to go back to that. And I do believe that this is a convenient misclassification of the whole purpose of the Peconic Bay Fund and the Community Preservation Fund. And I do think that in hindsight, people will
30
look.
seconds.
30 seconds, thank you. I do think that in hindsight, people will look back and question the fiduciary duty that this board has if there are any damages, litigations, leaks. As I've just pointed out, there are many right here on Long Island. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, is there anyone else on Zoom that wishes to comment?
I have one more person.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Sean Deary, a resident of Hampton Bays. I just wanted to quickly give some support for this sewer treatment plant. I believe that it is proper for environmental stewardship as well as downtown economic viability. Just to quickly touch on some of the concerns that were raised by my fellow residents is that water quality funds across Long Island are being used for sewer treatment plants and wastewater funds. So I do believe that this is a proper use of public funds and is responsible for the wastewater treatment across our downtown. And also in regards to the location of this sewer treatment plant, I believe that any location that you find for a sewer treatment plant is going to have residents that come out and say that this is not the right location. So we've done extensive studies for years now to find the proper location, and I do believe that we have found the proper location based on the studies. And I would say that it was proper to move forward based off of the diligent research that you have done. And finally, in regards to the compatible growth area of the Pine Barrens, I too am a loving supporter of the Pine Barrens. I go bike riding through Red Creek Park all throughout the year. I'm one of the only people that I ever see when I go on those bike rides, unfortunately. I would love to see more people use our green spaces, but the West Hampton Beach downtown sewer district is also technically in a compatible growth area. It just happens to be next to an airport. But if you look, it's surrounded by Pine Barrens, and so is this location. So I think it's not responsible as a town board to hear out the objections of just a few dozen residents who are located near this area and look beyond for the broader landscape of our town and our hamlet and say that you have done your diligent research and you should move forward. So I would like to close out my comment with my support. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, is there anyone else?
That is all.
All right, thank you. Let's see, do you have any other questions or comments? Steve, did you want to just come up and, what's the distance from the STP to the community that we've been referencing? The
I believe
bottom
this is the dimension line here.
Yeah.
1,066 feet. Yeah, I did take some notes while we were receiving comments. There was one question about whether there would be any noise or light pollution. This site is going to be minimally lighted. Basically, there would probably be just a couple of lights around the building. They would be downward facing. They would comply with dark skies initiatives. As far as noise pollution is concerned, there is equipment that will be inside the building. Even inside the building, we would provide them with hospital-grade silencing enclosures around the equipment. So, you know, it wouldn't be doing any damage in that regard. As far as the, you know, I wanted to echo what Councilwoman McNamara mentioned, that this was, there's still additional work. There's years of work that needs to go into this project. There's still additional environmental reviews. There's still a lot more engineering that needs to be done. This was a scoped assignment to look at the feasibility of these properties, and more investigation will be done into these. This is just, like you said, the beginning. I would also just mention that current in the existing condition in Hampton Bays, that wastewater is going untreated into the ground, by and large. You know, unless there's a sewage treatment plant or an IA system, wastewater coming out of any business or residence is basically going into a holding tank and then leaching into the ground after that. It's retaining some of the solids if you happen to have a septic tank upstream of your leaching system, but, you know, so building a sewage treatment plant, while, yes, if there's additional flow that goes into it, that's a consideration, but it's treating the wastewater to such a greater degree than in the existing condition. That's why our estimates were what they were on the total nitrogen going into the ground. I would also just add that there's plenty of examples of wastewater treatment plants throughout Suffolk County. There's over 200 wastewater treatment plants. Most people in this room probably drive by them every day and don't even know that they're there. So there's lots of examples. If you know, the county in and of itself operates roughly 30 of them throughout the area. Gabreski happens to be one of them. Town of Riverhead, many other wastewater treatment facilities that could be observed. So you can, you know,
Could you
see.
identify for us, not right now,
Mhm.
excuse me, could you identify for us perhaps, you know, a couple of locations where there, you know, relatively new comparable systems that are public? I mean, I know there's a private one in town. I know Sag Harbor Village has one,
Correct.
Greenport has one. Those I think are a little older, but maybe you could help us identify a couple relatively new ones that we could share with constituents to, you know, drive by and, you know, park and take a look and.
Yeah, absolutely. One that comes to top of mind is the Suffolk County Department of Public Works is currently constructing one in Mastic Beach, or in Mastic Shirley area. The Forge River sewage treatment plant's brand new facility would be comparable to this, but larger. It would be a larger facility, but similar construction.
I was going to suggest that one, too.
Yeah.
Where is that located?
That's at the Calabro Airport in Mastic.
Yeah.
But
Pretty
it's
close.
being constructed, it's not operational?
They're receiving flow. It's treating wastewater right now. So there's still parts of the collection system that are being constructed, I believe, but the treatment facility is online.
It's just north of the Sunrise Highway, just south of the airport, of the town of Brookhaven Airport, right?
Somebody can park and stop and take a look.
Yeah, you can see from-
We'd have to probably speak with the county to arrange for access, but yeah.
And you determined that this plant would treat 187,000 gallons per day of existing flow?
Yeah, that was based on summer months, because it's tricky with respect to water consumption data. You have a water meter outside of a business. We took all of that data for the entire year and tabulated it all. And typically, in most cases, we would look at the non-irrigation months as being the true sanitary demand, because there's a correlation between water consumption, which you're actually taking from the water district, and what's going into the sanitary system. By and large, most of the water that's consumed is going into the sanitary system. And in most communities, we would look at the non-irrigation months as being the sanitary flow, but in this case, because there's a seasonality to the area, we decided that we felt it was conservative to take a look at the summer months for flow purposes, for sizing the facility. So,
And then that further gets drilled on when you go into engineering and all of that, then the numbers are really crunched and looked at and.
well, yeah, I mean, so basically, that's the best data that we have to calculate existing water demand and sanitary demand on an existing area. All we have is meters. That is the best and most common way of calculating an existing sanitary flow in an existing area.
Well, you do have to, provide for the peak amount.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking at all the records that we receive and looking at the non-irrigation, and we're looking at the max month within that strain of data.
And I don't know, Steve, if you or Janice, but does the Pine Barrens Commission have a role in this in any way? Maybe you could speak to that?
Yeah.
Would you like to speak to that?
But one more question first about that, before you sit down, about the irrigation. I mean, yes, so you're getting charged for the water, and some of it's being used for irrigation, and that is not going into the treatment plant. So isn't there something based on Suffolk County Water Authority records, or, Hampton Bays Water District records, that would show the actual, not what goes in, but what goes out, so
That
so
would
you
be-
wouldn't be including
There
irrigation.
typically are not additional meters on the discharge, and for us to collect that amount of data on all the existing homes and businesses would be quite a challenge, honestly. They're not metered separately on the intake. So we're looking at all of the water that's coming in, and that's why we typically look at the non-irrigation months, because there is water that is then not going to the sanitary system during the irrigation months, as you stated. So there is, to the best of my knowledge, there isn't a more accurate way of calculating that without doing a tremendous amount of field work.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom had a question.
Good afternoon, Janice Shearer, Town Planning and Development Administrator. I'm sorry, the question
Tom
was?
had a question.
The role, what role, if any, the Pine Barrens Commission has in?
Sure. So the Pine Barren Commission is involved because of the fact that it is incompatible growth. Incompatible growth, you can clear up to 65% of the parcel. So if this was just a regular subdivision, they could clear about 20 acres. So that's not what we're talking about here. We're not clearing 20 acres, and that's just as of right. This would be the minimal amount of clearing just for the plant, and not 20 acres of clearing. So that will be expressed to the Pine Barren Commission. It is a critical resource area, and look around. All this is going to be protected, and the idea is that recharge is important. The groundwater is an important consideration to the Pine Barrens, and the surface waters too. So it's an important consideration to think that, you are putting treated effluent, you're treating everything. So you're taking all that, each individual sanitary system goes away, and they all get centralized into this system. So instead of 60 milligrams per liter, you're less than 10. That's a huge difference. So that's a major positive for the environment. And then you're not putting a pipe out to the ocean and putting it, and so you're not getting recharge. Recharge means you're putting it back into the groundwater. Now it's treated, so it's clean, and then it's getting filtered by the sand and going back into the aquifer for the future. So those things are the things the Pine Barrens wants to know about, and we will be discussing that with them. Also, it's outside of any regulated wetland jurisdiction, and it's more than 3,000 feet from the nearest public water wellhead. So those are also things that the Pine Barrens, that's what we look at when we're there.
Director Shearer, so can you tell me briefly, do we need anything from the Pine Barrens Commission before we move ahead?
You can, you have to have property control to make any of these
So
applications.
this resolution is important beforehand.
Because we can't really, if you're not really talking about that, if you're buying this, acquiring this, getting property control, then we move forward with the environmental reviews and all the like. If you, you know, otherwise we're always talking about the maybe, and that they, you know, we could go through that, but it's harder that way. So we always advise having the property control to determine what you're doing, making
But
applications.
if we were to move forward with the purchase, we would
Yes.
then move ahead with an application to
Yeah,
the Pine Barrens
and we would have to
Commission.
then start, we would then, the plan, if you move forward, would be to then issue RFPs for further engineering, environmental reviews that inform those applications. Like, we have to do all that still before you can make those applications, because they're gonna ask you a lot of questions, and we wanna have all the technical answers.
Janice, does the Pine Barrens Commission, in instances like this, do they provide any opinion letter or any advisement to the board when this is being considered normally? Something like this would be considered? No?
In the past, they've done some sense resolutions, but they don't like to do them
But-
on, you know,
Janice, didn't we have to go to them for Riverside?
yes, and we'll
And we
do it
got
the same
hardship
way.
for Riverside?
Yeah.
Because the treatment was beneficial, so they granted us the waiver because treating the effluent was a better outcome for the Peconic estuary than what was currently there. And that system is going to result in additional growth?
Yes,
But-
very similar.
So I get the benefits, understood, and especially coming from the business community, I think those are really sound comments. And obviously from a standpoint of water quality, generally speaking. But I'm talking more procedurally. When we put forward resolutions like this, should we be hearing from the Pine Barrens Commissions first, or should we be moving ahead with this and then hear from them?
I would move ahead with this, and the idea is that if for some reason it didn't work out, the public still owns it, and you have it, versus losing it, and it's a 10-lot subdivision. That's what's gonna happen if you don't move forward.
Right. The main thing, the only thing that's before the board today really is the acquisition of the property. You have to do that first before anything. And you could end up, you know, it might end up being completely preserved. There's the plan, long-term, as Mr. Haydick said, and it's going to be years before, and we're going to have public hearings on this issue as we go along. But this today is for the acquisition of the property.
Right, and then begins all the rest. There have been other acquisitions where then the ideas didn't come to fruition, but we still own the property. So it's, you know,
Thank you for the clarification on that.
my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Well, if no one else has any other questions for Steve or Janice, then I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you for your comments, everyone. Madam Clerk, would you please read the next public hearing notice?
Public hearing number 3, to consider the acquisition of 3841 Lake Avenue in the hamlet of Northampton and amend the CPF project plan and the CPF management and stewardship plan to include the property.
You can take that now. Thanks, Steve. How's your back? Yeah.
Just gonna wait for people to exit.
Thank you, Steve.
Good afternoon again, Madam Supervisor, Town Council members. This is the third public hearing for 3841 Lake Avenue in the hamlet of Northampton. Before you today is also to amend the CPF project plan and include the property in the management and stewardship plan. This property is located, again, at 3841 Lake Avenue in Northampton, and is owned by Rainbow Capital Incorporated. This is known as Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-163-2-11. Rainbow Capital is the purported owner of the property, and they have expressed interest in selling the property to the town of Southampton in the amount of $420,000. This property is located in the Central Pine Barrens Critical Resource Area and should be designated as such. This has been operating as an existing gas station and repair shop, but has been abandoned. So the purpose of this property acquisition is to reclaim the existing disturbed area, which is just north of Wildwood Lake, and allow it to return into a natural state. But important to note is that you'll see, and I'll point to it, a light yellow shaded section with diagonal is proposed. It's 3,226 square feet. That is proposed to be bought with town funding so that the road alignment can be addressed, or there could be additional drainage or water quality projects with additional room to treat stormwater in that area and prevent any stormwater from getting into Wildwood Lake. Also making sure adequate drainage is being, adequate stormwater and drainage is addressed on site. So this is a property that is in, it's about 200 feet of length and a radius for highway purposes. So I just want to point it out on the map so that everyone is aware of what is being carved out for those highway purposes. And just want to note on the public record that that would be at a cost to the town general GL in the amount of $87,500. So the remainder would be paid out of the CPF fund, which is in the amount of $332,500. So the majority of the purchase will be through acquisition through CPF, and the applicant is, per contract, is required to demolish the existing gas station and remove the, accessory structures and pavement.
Who determined the size and scope of that area that we're carving out for drainage?
So I actually made the suggestion, but I reviewed it with the town highway, so that was referred to the highway deputy, as well as Charlie McCardle, who is the existing superintendent of highways. So they were in agreement with the carve-out, and it allows for flexibility in the future for planning for stormwater remediation or possible relocation of the road just to the north.
I think they also spoke to Keith from McLean's about this too.
Yeah, I'm sure they consulted with their engineers. So when we received the survey and carve-out, that was also forwarded to them to make sure they were in
There's
agreement.
a plan where it's supposed to be some swales, straighten the road out, move it away from the lake, and a lot of drainage, because there's a lot of water runoff goes into the lake there.
Yeah.
Would improve the area 100%.
So a lot of times with existing infrastructure, obviously drainage was not always accounted for with the initial road, right? So we're always trying to look at where we can give a little more room. And I think that's a very important concept of this one, is this will be returned and allowed to passively revegetate, but it also gives the town the ability to look at engineering and techniques to improve water quality and improve stormwater runoff in this area.
And it's not, just to make it clear, there's no parking up there.
No parking.
There'll be no parking.
No parking.
And the tanks are removed and.
So we
as
did
part of the
confirm, we
process.
did a phase one environmental assessment. The tanks were removed in, I believe it was 1993 or 1994, I believe it was 93. I do have the report, with me if the town board would ever like to peruse it. But there are still some concerns with just individual fuel oil tanks and things like that, but those will be removed associated with the demolition of the structure. So, and again, the gas station has not been functioning for a very long time, so this would, allow the property to basically be reclaimed and, remove that kind of eyesore from that abandoned business use.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Jackie. Does anybody have any questions for Jackie before she sits down? All right, the first and only speaker in the room is Jock Comer.
Good afternoon, Jock Comer, Wildwood Neighborhood Watch. I'm also a resident on another part of the neighborhood that adjoins us. Thank you so much to the members of CPF and the CPF Advisory Board and the people that considered this property. It's been a blight on our neighborhood for such a long time and really never really deserved to be even a gas station, although that was a very long time ago too. I do want to dovetail on the remarks about the drainage, and the drainage not only here on this property, but also further back down Old West Hampton Road. And if it was possible to get the town to look at these things in a more holistic way for all of Wildwood Lake, that would be really even more helpful. This is great. This is an excellent start, and I want to thank you very much for the support of this. By the way, the sewage treatment plant, awesome.
I'll get a set of plans for the drainage and show it to you. I thought I had it on my phone, but I can't find it. I got too many
But-
emails on there.
Yeah, what was the other road you said? Was what?
West Hampton Road?
West Hampton Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you think you could look at that also? Yeah.
Thanks so much.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks. Okay, let's see. Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for this third public hearing?
I have one hand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yes, hello, Angela.
Hi, Angela Unault, sorry, got to do this remote today. President of Franca, Flanders Riverside Northampton Community Association. Good afternoon, Supervisor and members of the board. The community is excited. They can't wait to see the gas station go down, and we say thank you. And we're looking forward to even more things happening in 2026. That's all.
Very nice of you to say, well, we can't wait for it to come down too. Thank you for always supporting our efforts. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for what you're doing for us.
Thanks, Angela.
See you later.
Kevin, anyone else?
That's all.
All right. Well, if there's no other comments, then I move to close this third public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the notice for the fourth and final public hearing.
Public hearing number 4, to consider enactment of Chapter 263 entitled Registration of Vacant Buildings.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Moore, members of the town board. Sean Cambridge, Assistant Town Attorney, presenting this. And this was brought forward by Councilwoman McNamara and Councilman Pell, and our Emergency Management Division, as well as Code Enforcement. Essentially, what this legislation is looking to do is to make vacant buildings register with the town, as well as provide an action plan for what they intend to do with their building. This is important because if you envision, say you're a first responder, you're a volunteer firefighter, you're responding to a structure fire at 2, 3 in the morning, you want to know if a staircase has been boarded up or is deemed unsafe. You want to know if egress is no longer available while you're searching a building, looking for victims. So this is something that's essential to our first responders. This is a measure to combat the blighted properties that affect so many neighborhoods. This is also a way to impose the fees upon property owners that are using the most services, the properties that are drawing the most attention from the Code Enforcement Division, from fire marshals, from volunteer fire and ambulance services. So this is a way to proportionally spread that cost on the folks that are creating that cost with the tax-free levy procedure. And again, it's not a problem to have a vacant property if you're going to do something with it and can articulate a plan, and that's what this is codifying. So this would create that burden to notify the town of what your intention is. If you bought a property to put a new business in or renovate a home, that's okay. We're looking to see what that rationale is.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
I want to thank Councilman Pell for signing on to this. The community has come to us quite a few times about blight in their communities and vacant properties and boarded up properties. And, we've looked at some of them, coming up with a blight code where we could tear some of these buildings down. And we do have a blight mitigation fund that is funded through our justice court at a fee of $100 at an offense. This would be some real money, and it would also be some real incentive for these property owners to either, tear these buildings down that are a blight on the community, or, get them up to snuff, because they're gonna have to prove that they have insurance on these properties. But the biggest impetus, I think, and the greatest thing about this is the safety factor for our first responders, and having these buildings inspected by our fire marshals, and having, a plan and a registry to where the fire departments in the area are aware, if there is an egress that's been boarded up, or if, there is an issue, as you said, like a staircase is non-functioning. So that they're not going into these buildings without some knowledge of what they're walking into.
Don't forget the
So-
squatters.
Yeah, and also it allows us to inspect these properties for squatters and other issues, so. Thank you to you and Ryan and the community.
Michael, at the work session, you had some concerns about the definitions that would, I don't know if those were addressed, that define what constitutes a vacant property.
We didn't actually amend it because we went through them, and it's not any one thing that would trigger a response. It would have to be multiple things, and we didn't want to remove any, we didn't want to have less things that, code enforcement or fire marshals could trigger a review on. We wanted to give them as many aspects as possible, so. If you look at what is there, it does say, may include, or may, or to include, or in addition to. There's no like three things on this list trigger a notice of violation. Most of these properties are already known to us. And if they're not, they're coming to us from a community member who's saying, like, I know that this individual has passed away, there's nobody been at the property. And as I said, if there's an abundance of mail or something that makes the property look vacant, I feel it's better to address it with the property owner and let them know, hey, there's concerns here. Your property appears to be vacant, and they have every opportunity to come to us and say it's not, or address the issue so that, they are not a target for theft because their property appears to be vacant, so.
And a 30-day notice period was incorporated as well within that first draft to account for that concern.
So although it says any condition on its own or combined with other conditions, the reality is that you're probably not going to find a building that just has one problem.
In all likelihood, it won't be a building with one problem. Most of them are usually buildings we've already brought enforcement actions forward on to do board ups, cleanups, so on and so forth. So these are buildings that are actively in court most of the time, already being focused on. So this is to offset, again, some of that. Your whole taxpayer base is paying when there's a problem property, right? Because you have staff responding at a disproportionate level than they are to every other home in your jurisdiction. So this puts some of that cost on these property owners.
So I'll just say that I think this is really important. I can't say enough how many concerns we get from residents on what the town can do to enhance the regulation of our blighted properties, our vacant properties, and this is a great step forward, so I commend the effort. I just thought that we had agreed, though, that some of the terminology would be pared down quite a bit. I know we want to, primarily because I want to make sure that we're not overreaching and looking at residents that might have dead vegetation. They might get I want to make sure that those individuals aren't going to get a notice of violation just because they have a dead plant or they have an accumulation of mail, because I know a lot of neighbors of mine do let their mail accumulate to the tippy top and then grab it. So I just want to make sure they're not going to be unfairly
Right,
notified.
so we're in the public hearing stage of this. There's not a resolution of adoption on right now. The sponsors wanted to present this as drafted. We do have various other code sections that address property maintenance issues. This is not intended for those. This is strictly intended for vacant buildings.
I have a question about the fees, about the escalating fees each year. I thought that fees had to be tied to what is required on the building department or who's ever reviewing the applications, and it has to be reasonably related to what they're looking at. So how would we be able to then increase it a second year when it would conceivably be the same paperwork?
Sure. So this is a practice the town does in a variety of other areas, such as alarm billing, for fire and police billing. We have escalating provisions throughout the law for first offense, second offense, and as well as we have plenty of offenses in our town code that require predicate convictions. So we have some things that are a violation on the first go-around and a misdemeanor on the second. So this escalation is not atypical in a town building or zoning enforcement code. It is something that we do routinely. It is rationally related to a review of an application because your code enforcement division would be reviewing this registry and updating it periodically because these are not expected to remain vacant. So the intention is that something good happens with these properties. It's a home for a new family or a new business or whatever is going to happen on that property. We want to encourage that and foster that.
I would also like to, just on a separate aside, I would like to also, because we do have money in our CHF fund for rehabbed housing, to put these homeowners in, contact with our CHF department, maybe not knowing that there's funds available for them to rehab these properties and have them sold as affordable units is something we could, maybe a way to get people into that program, so.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's best to take a house and rehab it, fix it up.
Right.
Rather than just knock it down. So that's a good idea. Well, the whole thing is a good step forward, so I appreciate your
Thank you.
effort, and thank you both for bringing it forward. All right, let's see, I have a couple of cards here. Kathleen Cruel, and then Carla Casper.
Happy afternoon, everyone. I promise you, they won't be fixing any of these. And it's not about grass or trees.
You have a list?
This, a lot of pictures.
Yes.
This trailer is on Oak Avenue, and it's been empty.
You have to, Kathy, you have to speak and then give those to the clerk.
This trailer is on Oak Avenue, and I believe it's been empty for about 35 years. There's garbage in front and behind. There's broken windows on it, and it's sat like this all this time.
Do you want to go through all of them and then
Yeah,
give it
okay.
to me?
This one is on Cypress Avenue, 56 Cypress Avenue. This burned down probably 30 years ago. It burnt on the inside. Then it became a stash house. Then it became a place that the police caught them cooking drugs in. Then we had people living in it. And then they came out, the town sent someone out. They covered the roof, which has since the tarp ripped off, and they boarded it up. I asked the man when he was there, I said, did you make sure no one's in the house? And he said, no, why would I? I said, because we have a homeless guy that lives in there. He said, well, if he lives in there, he's in there now. So I don't know if he ever got out. Then we have this on 871. This is on Flanders Road, another house. This building has been looking like this. I've been in my house for 40 years, and it's been empty, and it looks like this with boards on it. This one, there's two pictures of it. It's 225 Flanders Road. Nothing's been done with it. We made many complaints because there's an awning that's over the top of it that actually fell off onto the sidewalk and was falling down while people were walking past. But it also has a house next to it that's attached. So if this is unlivable, how is this that's attached? And I'm sure by now, by the amount of cars, they've cut through and done something to probably be living in there also. We have, I love that you're doing this because we have many, many houses, and I've been here before and spoken about the buildings that were bought because they know that Riverside will be revitalized. People jumped in as soon as buildings went for sale, but they're
30
not
seconds.
keeping up the property. That I asked before, paint it. If you're gonna rip it down anyway, rip it down now. Why should the community have to look at this for 10 more years until something's done in that area? Thank you, that's all I had to say.
Thank you. And you forgot the gas station.
Now, am I
Got the
am I
gas
keeping
station.
these for the record?
Oh, the gas station on the corner that, the gas station that they want to make a 7-Eleven that we don't want at all. We want, we would love if the town bought that and just made it empty. Just put grass there. Put something nice so when you come off the circle and you're entering the town of Southampton, it looks nice because the 7-Eleven, as they said at the meeting when they discussed putting a 7-Eleven there, oh, well, we're going to have a separate spot just for the police. Well, we have
3
one cop
minutes.
and you're not getting them. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would certainly encourage the community to report any
they do.
residences.
We do.
Well, but where should they?
Well, we
should they
have
write to us,
literally,
or-
we go in CAC and we've had lists of properties and code enforcement does go out and look at them and we do follow up and we
Yeah.
keep them on the list until we get to a resolution.
Right, but if people in the audience or watching would like to, notify us of certain addresses to add to the list, who do they contact?
Code enforcement.
CAC, because now you have to put your name, and a lot of people don't want to put their names on them. So the Citizens Advisory Committee has started a committee that we have people that send it in, and they get the results for us. So if somebody wants to do that, they can just give us their name and their phone number, and we can actually send it in and then contact them with the results.
We should notify all the CACs to do that,
Yes.
yeah.
And Sean, once you get stuck and you get up and just give a link.
I don't know what that says.
It says,
Southampton Town Hall Annex.
yes.
Hi, Carla.
Okay, Carla Casper. Hi, please state your name for the record.
My name is Carla Casper. I live in Flanders. I am a member of the Citizens Advisory to Flanders. Our mission is service above self. And we do collect code enforcement complaints and are very organized and have a 3-reminder that we encourage you to look at. Most of these code complaints that Kathy has provided have been years of them. And since the system SOS was opened, we have continued, and we had a great meeting with Mr. Murphy in December. And I'd like to thank Councilwoman McNamara and Mr. Pell for the efforts that it took to bring us to this point. This is a big deal to our community. We would really, really like to see this passed. In our review of this legislation, we find that it reads to the needs of the community in that it holds the individual liberties of the taxpayers and the freeholders of this town to a standard that we expect. So please pass this. We really, really would like to see that Route 24 improve, and we feel it is in the town's best interest to also do this in West Hampton on Montauk Highway. That reduces the reputational risk of our beautiful town to address these properties. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your help. Go ahead. Give people a link.
Okay, so we have 2 ways to report. We have an online, it's called SOS system, where you can go on our website and put in an address and your concern. You can also call in your complaints to the Division of Code Enforcement. Their number is 631-702-1700.
And Sean, it's worth noting that, these properties, how they've been set like this, it's a really high standard of proof to get an engineer in to deem these properties as structurally unsound, which is why a lot of them still remain.
Right, and so many of these are maintained to the minimum standard that we force, but we can only force the minimum standard. So this is to add an extra component, to make it a little bit burdensome, but provide a path forward for these owners of these properties. Also, a concern that has been articulated is, we usually end up dealing with these folks, and they'll come in and go, well, nobody wants to buy my house in this condition. And they're wrong sometimes. People might want to buy their house or their business in these conditions, and this would create a registry subject to FOIL to where they may start getting offers on these properties. That's outside of, our purview, but, we can't control what people will do with this information, and it may be helpful to some of these folks who think their property's too far gone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks. Okay, you need to just come up, but make it quick, because you're not supposed to have a second time.
I just want to say there needs to be a step further taken, because calling code enforcement and they come out and they give violations, and then they end up in court. I had one by me that had 20 guys living in the basement, and it went on for 8 years before she finally pled guilty. So it's a thing that something needs to take a step further with the court system, that you can't take 10 years to have your complaint heard and actually pay for the violation that you had.
Yeah, true, okay. All right. So Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for the fourth public hearing?
No one on Zoom.
All right, well, if no one has any other comments, then I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that brings us to, thank you, Sean, brings us to the public portion. And I have a few cards on this.
Start with the mayor.
First is Mayor Gardella, Sag Harbor.
Thank you Supervisor Moore and council members. A lot of positive stuff I'm hearing coming out of Southampton. And I'm hoping that we can keep that theme going. As you know, yes, the amendment, I think there was a walk-on resolution, am I correct, Supervisor, to amend what was proposed, and I'm just hoping that it's something positive for the residents in the village. I've had input, as you know, our village is split right down the middle between the two townships, and it's not something that I wanted, it's something that's been in place forever, but our village is small, it's 2.5 square miles, and our residents don't really distinguish themselves, whether they're East Hampton or Southampton town. You know, we're one small community, and, you know, the Sag Main Beach is a big one for us. It's where the kids go together and travel together, and it's clear to me, talking to both sides, that there is a change is needed in the current policy. We need to do something, being sensitive to the town, all the town residents, and I'm just hoping that we can do something as far as maybe limiting the stickers to what's accessible, but not totally abandoning that policy. It was something that's been put in place since, I believe, the 60s. So obviously, we've been a victim of our own success out here. Things have changed quite a bit since 1960, but I'm just hoping that the council takes into consideration all the residents of the village. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one
Thanks for
quick
coming,
question
Mayor.
for you. Your septic system, it's very good in Sag Harbor, isn't it?
I would say, are you talking about your sewage treatment situation? I would say the village would not be what it is if it was not for our sewage treatment plant. I don't think the village would exist as it is. That it's been a big success. And I would support this plan moving forward.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm in the process of converting to AI system. IA, excuse me, I got artificial intelligence on my mind. Because I don't have access to the sewer treatment plant. The town has been very generous in helping us expand that to residents around. We did a study, and a lot of those septic systems are going into the harbor in less than a year. So we need to stop that. And if it wasn't for the sewage treatment plant, we wouldn't be able to do that. So I would definitely support that, 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next speaker is Gail Lombardi.
So I imagine it must be very frustrating to have naysayers, but oftentimes it's because I personally feel there's like an echo chamber of only the positive comments and never the negative comments. So I want to speak specifically about the floating zones for the community housing fund projects. I see you have the resolution for the approval for the floating zone for the motels on the agenda. The floating zones is much more limited, but yet it received much more attention than the community housing fund floating zone. I want to start off with a little of my background. I spent 5 years as the Director of Economic and Community Development at a local utility in Brooklyn. We provided grants and loans to various community projects, including affordable housing projects. I was also the Brooklyn Union Borough President appointee to the Downtown Brooklyn Community Board, which we held the public hearings on land use and made recommendations to the City Council. I say this not to impress anyone, but to point out that I have experience in land use and funding. When I moved to Hampton Bays, I swore I would never get involved. Hampton Bays was going to be my little piece of paradise, but a number of reasons I needed to take my head out of the sand. Now, following the zoning, planning, and land use is like a train wreck that I can't look away from. You guys do such a great job in so many areas in this town that it is so impressive how hard you all work, individually and collectively, in safety and in, keeping the town clean. But in land use and planning, from my experience, not so much. I watched the work session regarding the Community Housing Fund project, and it was like a free-for-all. Why bother to have planning and zoning at all? Not all residents have the time or wherewithal to follow what goes on. They certainly don't expect to wake up in the morning and see bulldozers next to their house building a sewage treatment plant or affordable housing development. I was horrified to hear Mr. Highsmith state, "Let's see how it goes," when it came to fund it. Where is the 5, 10, 20, 40-year funding plan? He refers to projects and asks you to trust him as his babies. These projects are neither his nor babies. These projects will forever change the landscape of the town of Southampton. I have seen these projects go sideways quickly after the ribbon cutting and the rainbows and unicorns. It is your responsibility to make sure that these are appropriately cited and have long-term viability. The headlines in Newsday regarding this approval was Southampton Town hopes to encourage affordable housing east of the canal. As the old adage goes, hope is not a plan. Where is that in the legislation? In closing, I believe that the writing is on the wall to urbanize Hampton Bays, bring the STP in for the overdevelopment, the new growth, bring in the town facilities, and allow for high-density residential development, permanently changing the community character of Hampton Bays. I hope I am wrong, but as the saying is, hope is not a plan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gail. Lily Fell.
Hello, good afternoon, Supervisor, councilpersons. I'm here to ask you.
Could you just state your name for the record?
My name is Lily Fell. I'm a resident of Sag Harbor Village on the East Hampton side. I've been out here for 30 years, and I thank my lucky stars that I live in this beautiful, beautiful neck of the woods. And I know it's a fine line we walk with our summer folk and being a year-round residents. And I ask you not to take away something that gives us such pride and joy and happiness and a respite from all the work that we do. And while we get beaten up from May until September and work so hard, to not be able to go down to the Sagmain Beach or Peters Pond. I went to the beach for the first time in July for 2 afternoons, for the first time in 30 years, because often I work 60 to 70-hour weeks. Please don't take this away from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Eileen McPhailin.
No.
Oh, pass. Diane Degar.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Diane Dager. I've lived in Sag Harbor for 40 years. I'm a retired teaching assistant, and my husband still works. I live on the Southampton side of town, and raising a family, you go to Sagmain with all the kids from your son's class for birthday parties throughout the summer, celebrate graduations. It's the meetup place. Now I'm retired, my friends are retired, and it pains me to think that I won't be able to meet up with them at Sag Main Beach like I've done for 40 years, because they're now required to pay an exorbitant fee for a beach pass, $500. I'm lucky that I can still afford to live out here and that my friends do, and you're placing an enormous burden on local families who have made this their home some for generations, some of us for decades. And we are a unique community. You know, everybody uses the library. The people from Southampton are allowed to borrow the same books as the people from East Hampton. We don't make distinction. The children in school are given the same supplies, whether they live on Division Street or Northview Drive. We're a tight-knit community, and to do something like this place is a very undue burden. So I hope you reconsider and acknowledge my concerns and those of others that you've probably heard from as well. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, Diane. Lori Gibbs.
Hi, I'm speaking on the beach permits, and I live on the East Hampton side of Sag Harbor. And I've been a Sag Harbor person for 65 years. And that means that's a lot of summers at Sag Main. And over the last, let's say, 5 years, it's become increasingly hard to swim in our bay because of the water pollution. And so we escape to Sag Main. And last summer, I spent probably the entire month of August escaping the heat and having a place to swim at Sag Main, because our water, based on Dr. Gobler's studies, were unsafe to swim in. So I look at this change in the fee structure as really a way to, obviously some people are going to be able to afford and are going to be, $500 for them is going to be nothing. And they're going to pony up, and it really is your older citizens, your moderate income citizens who are going to be excluded from really our last ocean beach. So I think, to Mayor Gardella's point, it's not just about, I hope it's not just about the money. I think it's about the utilization, but I wish that we could find a way to find a solution, whether it's limiting access on the weekends, whether it's availability of passes during the week at a discounted rate for seniors. I just think that there should be some way to come up with a solution where basically older people, long-term residents are not pitted against their neighbors, and also aren't left with absolutely no place to go. So I'd like to see
30
additional
seconds.
conversation about this, and I know that I get the feeling that this is on hold until we all go away or something, but it's a really important resource to a lot of us, and it's very, very painful to be at this point, sort of behind the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Angela Inzerillo. Inzerillo. Oh, well, I'll call it again in case she comes back. Phyllis Saita McGrady.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you.
I'm not used to speaking in public forums. I do work at Northwell Health and have a pretty good job and speak to the physicians, but I'm a little bit nervous. But can I tell you my story so you know?
Yeah.
I've been coming out here to Long Island, to Southampton, for 71 years. My mother and my grandparents built a house out on Little Neck Road. It's 149 Little Neck Road. For the past 20 years, I've been asking and sending letters to the town because of the point. The road was being eaten away by the water. The rocks that were there were taken away at one point. I don't know how they, one day I came home and the rocks were gone, so I don't know how they came away. But anyway, so there's an opening on the road. The property behind us has been always vacant and been on, we are on a peninsula. So, I know that you're aware that there's a peninsula in that area. We're in the middle of the peninsula. So years ago, about, I want to say 30 years ago, they dredged. And when they dredged, they actually put all the dredging and sand on the side of the other road, which is Far Pond Road. And they built up Far Pond Road, so there is no, and that island that was there in the middle, we used to ski off of it and have fun. That island got bigger and bigger over time because the waterway was swinging in the wrong direction. So that side of the island is actually getting filled with sand and other items like from the ocean. So I don't have all the maps that my neighbors have done because a lot of them have passed away over the years and the houses are now owned by their children. So, I had a petition at one time. Everybody wanted to sign a petition and asked me to talk. Well, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I do know that I'm 70 years old, and I've been going there for 70 years, and my mother is 98 years old, and she doesn't want anything to happen to this house, and we really would like to do renovations and help her still come here because she has more, I think she has more common sense than half of the people that I deal with in a day. But she's very alert, and she would love for us to continue with this house. But it's been a challenge because the water comes up on the road. You used to have a garbage pail that the town used to put there. The garbage pail actually was in the ocean, and I pulled it out one day into the bay. But we can't live in an area that the water is coming from both directions. So I know
30
my neighbors
seconds.
live along that side of the waterways as well. So the middle peninsula. So I don't know if there's anything going to be done by the town. And so I'm asking you because I don't know how many letters I have sent in the past and how many calls I've made. And I really don't get any responses. So I know that one of the people that lives on our block also, who lives down further on the road towards the highway, has been aware, and I've been talking to him. And
3 minutes.
I'm sorry.
3 minutes.
Oh, that just means wrap
time is up.
finish up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I'll stop
Well,
talking.
You could wrap up your final,
No, wrap
Just
it
means
final
time to
thoughts.
wrap up comments.
What are your final thoughts? You could wrap up.
Okay, so my final thoughts are I just need to know if there would ever be a way that the town would look at helping us build back the rocks and things, because the person that bought the house on the corner, right near the point, also had put rocks, and the town made her take down the rocks. They said they were affecting the waterways. I don't know what it was affecting because it wasn't wood or anything else, but it was boulders that they had put to hold the water from their house. So I guess it was about 10 years ago maybe now, they had told, the town had come after they put the boulders down and told them they had to take them away.
Phyllis, why don't you go, their town council office is right down that hallway.
Go where?
The town council office is right down that hallway. If you walk out to your right, you could get my card, Michael Iacilli, and you could send me an email. We could take a look at it for you.
You will.
Okay?
I really appreciate that.
Just
Thank you so
summarize
much.
it in an email.
Yeah,
so
that way we could take a look and.
You're aware of this, right?
Yeah, I would really appreciate that, like I said.
Actually, you should go talk to the trustees in the highway, because the rocks.
I did that one time.
Yeah, well, the trustees they're in charge of that area, the beach, and the reason the rocks were moved away from that house, because they were causing erosion. And
They were causing what?
Erosion, taking sand. There was a place correctly.
We were willing to do that. I was willing to even pay for it at the time that we could fix them.
The neighborhood should get together if they want to do that, and you can apply for water quality money. There is a project on that road for some swales and some drainage, but that will not help the water coming up from the bay. because your problem is the water coming up from the bay, what floods that area. Okay, because you got water all the way around you, so when you get a storm, get high tide, there's no place for the water to go.
Yes, I understand that.
And the rocks were put there in the wrong angle, and what created erosion, like I was saying. And that's why they were removed, because it caused more problems down the way.
So it sounds like Bill has some knowledge on this. So Councilman Bill Pell, you could also go to the same office and ask for his card, and
We can sit down and talk to you.
Will you be, oh, I would love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and
I
I
was a
appreciate you
trustee for
listening.
14 years.
He's also
you're right.
liaison to highway and trustees, so.
Yeah, you're the
Got you
perfect
covered.
person for this.
You have to teach Michael.
Angela, did Angela come back?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Jesse Matsuka. Hi, Jesse.
Hello. Good afternoon, Supervisor and council members. Jesse Matsuoka. I am a second-generation business operator in Sag Harbor and resident on the Southampton side of Sag Harbor. And as far as I can remember, my fondest memories really come from Sagmain Beach. I want to echo what Mayor Gardella was saying, that many residents are a bit upset or just very surprised to see what was asked now to increase the price for those residents. And I mean, as a person that does work 60, 70, 80 hours plus, the only couple of hours of freedom, we like to go to the beach. And many residents I know of that I can remember, pretty much half of Sag Harbor goes to that beach. And we all meet up in that one same place. And I know that it's going to cause a bit of ruckus, but I ask that if the board can come up with some kind of resolution to be able to even increase the cost, maybe, not to the point of 500, but just something, even doubling it might be sufficient enough. And within the means of some residents, I think it would be, definitely doable for a lot of people that would like to still attend and, go to the beach. So I just wanted to echo what the mayor had said and many other residents were talking about.
Thank you.
That's about it.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Jesse.
much.
Is she here now?
Want to ask?
She already had a card in. Anyway, Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for public portion?
2 hands up.
What did he say?
I didn't hear him.
Is that Marin?
Yeah, I have people on Zoom.
Is that her?
That's Angela.
Oh, Angela, you're here. Would you like to come up and speak?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Hello, board. Back again. I did write an op-ed in the paper, which I'd like to submit to the board regarding honor the agreement.
I'm sorry, could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, it's Angela L. Inzerillo from 10 Ackerley Street, Sag Harbor, New York. Thank you. And so I.
You could hand that up to the clerk if you want.
Sure.
Reclaiming my time.
Just kidding. So when I last appeared here 2 weeks ago, it was kind of a shock to everybody that this had kind of got sprung upon us. And so in investigating this a little more, the town was presenting their arguments that the East Side residents, or due to the East Side residents, that Southampton Town is operating at a revenue loss.
No, I didn't.
And/or it's creating some type of overcrowded parking. So, however, there's no factual data that has been presented by the town in the amount of permits that have been issued to East Hampton Village residents. And also,
unsubstantiated is the data of how many actual East Side residents utilize now what is reduced to 3 ocean beaches, not creating an overcrowding as argued. Together, this data simply is not there to support the claims and is rather talked about in generalities in order to support some position. As some type of compromise, we should look at, and just to go back to other data, back in 2020, we reduced our amount of ocean beach access. I've been out here since 2000. I came out here when I was 25, and in 2000. And at that point, there was no limitation. And apparently in 2020, it was reduced. From 9 to 3. And now you're proposing to reduce it from 3 to 0.
30 seconds.
And I think the mayor has presented a couple of rational options that perhaps we come up with a limit if this is the issue, that you feel like there's overcrowding and there are people that are accessing it not legitimately. Perhaps we reduce the amount of access to 1 or 2 per household. And at that, it could be at a first come, first come basis, because that would be logical and a realistic and feasible compromise that we can all still gather together as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kevin, we're ready for the Zoom calls now. Saw Pamela's name up there before. There she is.
We heard you, Janice.
Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor and other members of the Town Board. My name is Pamela Harwood. I'm the president of the Bridgehampton Civic Association. I'm speaking on behalf of the Board of Directors today to support the resolution to adapt the amendment to Chapter 111 of the Town Board in connection with the special parking permits as it relates to Sag Harbor Village residents who live within the boundaries of East Hampton Town to no longer be eligible to purchase Southampton Town resident rate parking permits, which have been used to park at the Bridgehampton beaches. It sounds like most people who came today to speak are using Sag Main, which is in Sagaponack and not certainly within the Bridgehampton Civic's purview. Both Bridgehampton beaches have very limited parking spaces. Scott Cameron Beach, we were told by Kristen Doulos, that has only 60 parking spaces, and Mecox has only 100, while the number of Bridgehampton residents and taxpayers has increased tremendously since these parking lots were built. If residents east of Division Street can obtain in-resident or free parking passes for East Hampton Town beaches because they live within the boundaries of that town, they will still get the resident rate at Foster Memorial Beach, also known as Long Beach, in Noyak or Sag Harbor, as this resolution says, then the very limited parking at Bridgehampton beaches and with the preferential parking rate should be saved for those living within the boundaries of Southampton Town. I also want to speak just very briefly about to voice our concerns about the proposed local law entitled Hotel Development Overlay. As I understand it, this new law would create overlay districts on certain properties that would override existing town codes and zoning. It would give the town board sole authority over planning, over development in such overlays, removing the involvement of the planning board, which otherwise reviews and oversees all the commercial development applications. Additionally, the question is, do we need more tourists in Southampton Town? Our local roads already cannot accommodate the number of vehicles, causing impossible traffic congestion, especially during the summer. In Bridgehampton, we already have several hotels, the Bridgehampton Inn, Topping Rose, which is an enormous above and below ground hotel and spa, which already is an example of the renovation and new use of an historic building, and that sort of thing is mentioned in the resolution. and another motel east of Ocean Road. But those are not the only accommodations for tourists. In addition, there are many homes that are rented out for short-term and seasonal visitors, and many that are built solely for that purpose, with enormous above and below ground living quarters that house multiple families for seasonal accommodations. Affordability is also mentioned as a goal. How will that be regulated and monitored? I think we have already met the 1999 Comprehensive Plan's goal of increased tourism. In 1999, that may have been a goal, but we're now 27 years later, and we have more tourists and more traffic on the roads and more people at the beaches than we can currently handle. Thanks very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Pamela.
Pamela.
Kevin, is there anyone else on Zoom?
I have one more person after this.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Meredith.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Supervisor and the rest of the town board. I wanted to speak about resolution as well, 2026-301, the hotel development overlay that's on for a vote today. I missed the last public hearing as I did not have notice of it, though I had shared my concerns at the prior 2 hearings on it. I'm somewhat disappointed.
Can you fix your microphone? Because you're coming in very rough.
Oh, yeah, let me disconnect from my headset. Go on my phone. Can you hear me now better?
Better.
Much
yeah.
better.
Thank you.
Is that any better?
Yes.
Perfect.
Is that any better? Can you hear me any better now?
It was better before when you took it out.
Okay, so you can hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was saying is that I'm somewhat disappointed to see that the resolution's on for a vote. I don't believe that it's been thought all the way through. There's a tremendous lack of community support. Since I've been at all the hearings, there hasn't been anyone to speak as a proponent other than people from the Department of Land Management and Planning. And the Planning Board itself has expressed significant concerns about this proposal, including what the impact would be to our community and about the concern that it could be manipulated by a developer and or you'd see chains, boutique hotel versions of chains popping up all over the highway like an AC Marriott next to Bud Hampton. And I believe that this resolution is really not ripe for a vote, and I strongly urge the board to table it in light of the planning board's expressed significant concerns and the lack of community support. I also wanted to speak about the beach permits. I've heard everyone saying, you know, a lot of stories about how they use Sag Main and the community in Sag Harbor. But the truth of the matter is that for the last several decades, the East Hampton residents of Sag Harbor Village have been utilizing the Southampton beaches without contributing anything really to their upkeep and maintenance, and especially at Sag Main, which has significant facilities that frankly we don't have, as Pamela has said, on the Bridgehampton beaches. You know, there's cost to that. There's attendants that need to be there. There are lifeguards that have to get paid and trained. There are facilities that have to be repaired and kept up, the bathrooms, the decking, and the ramps. And at this point, you know, it seems unfair to the rest of us who live in Southampton that this free advantage is allowed to continue. I do have some empathy and do think that maybe there can be some solutions worked out that might benefit and work to all, but I think it's not fair to the rest of us to have East Hampton residents who pay their taxes only to East Hampton and do have access to the East Hampton beaches to continue to be able to take advantage of the Southampton beaches as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Meredith.
No.
Can I enter one more thing into the record?
Just give it to the clerk.
This is by the.
You just have to hand it in.
The president of the Sands Community.
Please hand it to her.
Renee Simons. She wrote this letter.
You're not at a.
And that's a fallacy to say that.
Excuse me, this is.
Speak.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fallacy to say that.
I have
You
three
have
more
to sit
people on.
down.
Kevin, did you say there's someone else on Zoom?
Yes, I have 3 more.
Oh, 3 more, okay.
You're muted.
Hi there, good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. Angela's there. She actually has the letter I wrote to the town and also to some of the leadership within the Sag Harbor. I'm a Sag Harbor resident, and I
State
think
your
one of
name
the-
for the record, please.
Sure, Renee Simons. I live on the east side of Sag Harbor. I think this is probably the first time that publicly I ever said I'm on the east side of Sag Harbor, and it's only because of the issue that is at hand. In my note, I talk about the fact of the years and the legacy of going to Sag, Maine. I understand what you're saying in terms of maybe the pressure, financial pressure, et cetera, but I bet you that of the 900 residents on the east side of Sag Harbor, you're not getting 900 people with passes. And I'm real curious, given Angela's question, how many people are actually getting passes in a typical year, given the recent change that where we had to pay and then could go to Sag, Maine. I doubt that it's 900, that's one. And two, I heard the lady speak before, East Hampton side pays taxes to Sag Harbor and full taxes. We don't get a different tax structure because we're on the east side in Sag Harbor. And there are elements of Sag Harbor that the southern part of Sag Harbor takes advantage of. You know, we have Havens Beach, we have a whole bunch of other things. This village has never been divided by that line. And I think this approach to your beach issues is going to create that type of line that didn't exist before. I don't think that I know there's a problem. I think you're looking at a convenient answer to that question, to that problem. I'm not sure that our passes are really causing that, but you know, I'm interested in the numbers. The only thing that I would just ask is if you can kind of keep it open. Again, we have access to East Hampton beaches. They're not as close, but I think there's a tradition and a legacy, and this particular proposition is really going to divide the village. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. All right, we can see you. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Sure. I apologize that it's not correct on the Zoom, but my name is Karen, Karen, Price, and I live at 36 Harbor Avenue in Sag Harbor. And I just wanted to join the meeting to give my support and my family support. My husband and all of my family, our support to, continuing what we think is a courtesy, and we are grateful for it, and really do think that the opportunity to, enjoy Sag Beach and take our family and our guest, we are residents, our guests there is really wonderful, and we think of it as something that can be enjoyed by our family, and we welcome Southampton families and other families into Sag Harbor to enjoy the things that we have in Sag Harbor. And we pay full taxes in Sag Harbor and in East Hampton too. So we are not thinking that this is, something that we are entitled to, but we do think that it is, a very gracious courtesy, and like I said, we are grateful for it. And I do think that we definitely understand, especially in Sag Harbor, about crowding and overcrowding and more cars is more and more, and we see that every season. We're there all the time, but we see it seasonally all the time. So we are very cognizant of that, and we share your concerns about that, but we don't think that we are the issue there. And I do think that it would be nice if we spent a little bit more time thinking about maybe a bit of a compromise. There should be something in between where we are now and just being sort of kind of kicked out of the program kind of that there should be something in between there where you feel comfortable about what we contribute and how we are contributing, and we feel comfortable and welcome in our neighbors, just like we are welcoming you. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's everybody for Zoom.
Oh, okay. All right.
Do you want me to wrap that up?
If you want to have a conversation about it.
Sure. So this came up not just out of the blue, not because the town was looking for a way to say, you know what, we want to divide the Sag Harbor community. This is something that we look at every year. I actually, it was stated, I think, on the record that this was my legislation. This is not my legislation. I happen to be the town board liaison to the Parks and Rec Department. And we had a conversation this year about our beaches and overcrowding and residents that are being turned away. And we are already at Sag Main, and some of these beaches are not permitting day passes on the weekends. We went to discuss potentially limiting the number of non-resident permit holders that are allowed to use these beaches. And then we looked at really the numbers on who is utilizing the beaches, and, I wrote this all out because I think there's a lot here, and I don't want to, there's a lot of numbers here, so I'm just gonna read what I have prepared. So the resolution we have walked on, just so you are aware, is to amend the code after it's adopted today to, for this year, because we didn't want to cut off all Southampton town beaches to Sag Harbor residents for, this season. We are going to discuss allowing permits to Meacocks for $150. Sag Main, which I'll get into in this, is another issue. So there have been no letters of objection to this proposal from outside of the 11963 area code, zip code, I'm sorry. The letters of opposition have been mainly from East Hampton town residents, which is understandable. The North CCAC, the Bridgehampton Civic, and the Noyak Civic Council have all indicated support for this amendment. Likewise, the mayor of Sagaponack Village supports this amendment. The village of Sagaponack, which is where Sag Main is located, has an IMA with the town, which allows those with Southampton town resident permits to access certain village roads, including the road end that is part of Sag Main Beach. They have the ability to cancel this agreement in whole or in part no later than August 1st of any year and make those locations accessible for village resident parking only, as was nearly the case with Gibson Lane in 2024. It is in part why we are not including Sag Main Beach. We did not include Scott Cameron because it's currently the only resident-only beach in the town of Southampton. In the village of Sag Harbor, there are over 990 homes in East Hampton town buying, on average, 221 permits per season for access to 3 Southampton town ocean beaches at the resident rate. When those 3 lots, which have in total 325 spaces, are full, these permit holders can utilize their free Town of East Hampton resident permit and drive over to Town Line, Beach Lane, or Indian Wells. Our residents don't have that option. They go home. One of the main complaints raised by those opposed to this amendment was the distance to East Hampton town beaches from the village of Sag Harbor. So I went and I looked at the distances. From Long Wharf to Sag Main is 7 miles or an 18-minute drive. From Long Wharf to Indian Wells is 10 miles or about a 20-minute drive. The distance a Sag Harbor Village East Hampton town resident must drive to Indian Wells is the same distance a Southampton town resident in Southampton Cove must drive to Sag Main. I only used guarded beaches, but it's worth noting that the distance to Town Line Beach and Beach Lane, both East Hampton town beaches, is the same as the distance to Sag Main. For perspective, a Southampton town resident in Eastport must travel the same distance to a Southampton town beach as an East Hampton town resident in the village of Sag Harbor must drive to an East Hampton town beach. The town of East Hampton requires a beach permit for all of their beaches 24/7, 365 days a year, at a cost of $600 to non-residents. The town of Southampton requires a beach permit from May 15th to September 15th from 9 to 9 at lifeguarded beaches and 9 to 6 at trustee road ends at a cost of $500 to non-residents. While the loss of over $100,000 in permit revenue was mentioned, it is not the driving factor for this change. The fact that Southampton town residents who live and have invested millions of dollars in improvements to these beaches via their tax dollars and are routinely being turned away is, we are not looking to increase beach permit revenue. We are hoping that by passing this amendment, East Hampton Town residents will use the East Hampton Town beaches that they pay taxes to maintain. In the next year or two, Southampton Town taxpayers will be paying somewhere in the ballpark of $150,000 to $250,000 for necessary upgrades to Sag Main alone. Likewise, we are not trying to divide a community. We are reevaluating an accommodation that was put in place in 2021 by a prior board with a clear understanding that it would be reviewed on an annual basis. I spent my high school years in Southampton Village, where my parents were lucky to be able to rent a house from a family friend. My North Sea friends could only go to the beach in the village with me if they came with me or they got dropped off by their parents. My two daughters, who went to West Hampton Beach High School, had friends from East Moriches, which is in the town of Brookhaven. They either went to the beach with my daughters or they got dropped off. The closest beaches to West Hampton Beach High School are owned by the village of West Hampton Beach. West Hampton Beach students can pay $10 for a pass that allows them to walk onto the beaches if they present a student ID, but they can only be dropped off. Sag Harbor students who live in the town of East Hampton can still go to Southampton Town beaches with their friends. Likewise, Sag Harbor students who live in the town of Southampton can go to East Hampton Town beaches with their friends. Pearson students also have the ability to work as beach attendants or lifeguards, and in doing so would get a free permit. Members of the Sag Harbor Fire Department and ambulance will continue to receive a free beach permit. We were also accused of doing this after the $500 East Hampton Village permits were all gone. Our public hearing was January 27th, and discounted village stickers to East Hampton Town residents were sold on January 29th. I would like to add that this is another option that is not available to Southampton Town residents in Sag Harbor Village. The accommodation made for East Hampton Town residents was just that, an accommodation. Accommodations don't automatically become entitlements regardless of the time they are granted for. I agree with those who said that access to our beaches is one of the last great affordable things our residents have, and I take my duty to protect and expand that access for our residents seriously. It's the whole point of this.
And I'd like to say something if I could.
Of course, Tom.
Okay, and I don't have a script, although I think, Councilwoman McNamara made several, relevant points to this discussion. But I've been a resident of Sag Harbor since 1988. I'm about a quarter mile south of the village and about 100 yards from the East Hampton Town line. My kids went to Sag Harbor Elementary and the high school. So I've lived this. I've been buying permits at the beach since probably 1995. My experience, and I think the experience of probably, many folks from Sag Harbor and all the beaches, is you went down to the beach at the beginning of the summer, you showed your beach attendant your registration, they gave you the permit. I think probably what may have happened over the years in Sag Harbor is that they saw 11963 or they saw Sag Harbor and they gave you a permit. I don't know at what point or when there may have been a distinction made in issuing permits. Are you on the east side of Sag Harbor or are you on the west side of Division Street? I'm not sure where or when in that process that ever occurred, but my experience going to the beach is that, that's what you did. You gave them the registration, they gave you the resident sticker. So I very much understand the sense of community between being on the east side of Division Street and now being on the west side of Division Street. I think it was common practice. I've talked to a lot of people that have been in Sag Harbor longer than me. I've talked to, some people, former officials and things that have been involved in the history of Sag Harbor for a long time. The code amendment in 2021 was apparently an attempt to codify what I believe had been an existing practice for a long time in return for some kind of a payment from the village at that time. Again, that's a little bit of ancient history, but I think it's evolved. One of the points I think we have to make, because everybody does talk about Sag Main, it's a great beach. Our agreement with Sagaponack Village doesn't allow the town to sell permits to East Hampton Town residents. Again, that may have been a practice that's been going on kind of under the radar for a long time, but it's not under the radar anymore. Moving forward from this point, I believe the town board is working to try to come up with some kind of accommodation for the people of Sag Harbor. And I've heard, and we've all heard from a whole lot of people in Sag Harbor. I've also heard, I'm the liaison of the Bridgehampton Civic Association. They made their feelings against any kind of accommodation very clear, as have some of the other civic groups outside of the village. So it's a very challenging position we're in. But I think this board is trying to come up with an accommodation. We can't do it at Sag Main. That's kind of now what's come out, and we can't do it at Sag Main.
Now it's on their radar.
So, right, it's on their radar.
Hydroponics, right.
And again, so we came up with this solution for Mecox. I proposed an idea of making kind of reverse congestion pricing, let you go to the beach after 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but, the consent at some kind of a discounted, rate, but do it, after 1 in the afternoon or something. We looked at doing it weekdays only. We looked at a bunch of, kicked around a bunch of ideas, but I think
Maybe the
this
first
is.
100 people.
First 100 people, we kicked around, because I think this board does want to try to do something, understanding that there's been a history, and however we got to this point, we're going to try to, make it work in some way, going forward for this year. So I think we all kind of came to a consensus that this would be something where we could try to, do something for the residents of the village on both sides. And that's it.
Did you?
No, because you can't see the other lady.
How many non-residential seasonal
Oh,
passes
yeah.
were sold last
It was
year?
221, is that
No,
correct?
how many resident permits to East Hampton town
Oh,
residents?
I
I don't
thought-
have that number, but I know that 245 were sold to East
245.
Hampton town residents at the resident rate.
Okay, but
So that's
what
not
about the
900.
number of, if people come rent for the summer of the month? How
I don't
many-
have that number. You can ask, I can send it to you. You can go down to our office and leave your information, and I'll send that to you.
But 245
East Hampton town.
passes.
Well, that
were
was,
issued.
that was the whole impetus for this, right? We looked at potentially at these beaches, because they are so popular and so crowded, we looked at potentially limiting the number of non-resident permit holders that can access this beach. And, we're moving towards a software program that will allow us to better regulate who's at our beaches and what times. So in the future, there may be an opportunity to allow a certain number of spaces on you can go on your app on the phone and see if there's a spot available. It'll be like, the parking meters in the city where you can take a spot for a couple hours. So that kind of stuff may be in our future. It's just not right now. And we were getting overwhelming complaints from residents that were legitimately upset because they would go to the beach, they would wait online for an hour, they'd finally get a parking spot, and they were parked next to a vehicle with a resident of East Hampton permit and a resident of Southampton permit. And, rightfully, like I said, in the next year, they're gonna be spending nearly $250,000 just on Sag Main. So, they need to be given priority for this, and in the future, if we have to limit, we've already limited day passes, we may also have to limit visits by non-resident permit holders, so. Nothing is changing. You can get dropped off at the beach to your heart's content. You can have your kids carpool. You can do all of those things. You just can't physically park in a parking spot at the beach. It's all about the cars. We don't regulate people on the beach, and the Village of West Hampton does. We don't.
Right. Other communities do.
Just something we do.
You have to have tags on each individual person. We don't do that.
So anybody could walk onto the beach, anyone can get dropped off, anyone can carpool down. And, it's just during the May 15th to September 15th before, after 9 a.m.
And I do want to say that the mayor did advocate very strongly for at least keeping access to Sag Main, which, given our current IMA with the Village of Sagaponic, just isn't a possibility, which is why we were going to offer nothing, which is why now there'll be a public hearing. We'll have to hear from Southampton town residents about a Mecox permit, so.
Yeah. Michael, Councilmember Iacilli has some comments.
So I just wanted to say, I understand why, look, this is an issue of fairness, and one of the examples that Councilwoman McNamara brought up was, for instance, if you're a Brookhaven resident in Eastport, there's no accommodation for them to receive a Southampton beach pass. to our beaches here. But I also want to make the point too that I think the rollout of this could have been better. I think that people were sort of surprised to see this. As you know, Tom eloquently outlined it, this has been a long-standing practice. You know, I would have liked to have had more engagement with the village board. You know, and given that this is affecting, in particular, town of East Hampton residents, maybe the town board of East Hampton. But I understand, you know, why this is being brought up, and the only reason or the only way I would support this is if there is some sort of middle ground that we're seeking, and I thank the sponsor for allowing, at the very least, for some kind of middle ground to be explored through the public hearing process. So, you know, I'm not happy about the situation.
None of us are.
But, you know, I think there's going to be some sort of middle ground that we're able to get. And I hope that those that are engaged in the process continue to be engaged. And I encourage, too, the village mayor to please continue to be a part of this process, as we want you to be a key part of this decision-making process. Because, you know, my family, you know, has been a part of Sag Harbor for years, and you know, I understand just what it means to certain people. They don't want to be divided by the East Hampton, Southampton side. It's a very understandable argument that's being made by some of those folks. So,
One last point. Thanks.
But, ma'am, give us a time.
Go ahead.
No, wait, we run the meeting, don't be rude, be polite. I was talking, I did not interrupt you when you were talking, and so let me talk, okay? You can't keep on getting up, because we have rules, okay? People cannot hear you from there, okay? You have to have a microphone.
What would you like to say, Councilman?
I would like to
Kelly?
say that, I think the whole board feels bad about this.
Yeah.
And I was a former trustee for 14 years, and beach access was always a big one for me. And I would never want to divide a village or divide a group of people. Like Michael said, we have to have a middle ground. We found a middle ground. Maybe we can get a better middle ground next year. We just purchased some waterfront house. We're gonna make a beach there. Maybe we can purchase something else on ocean, because our access to water is getting harder and harder. And like, he works 80, 90 hours. I used to work that many hours. And the access to the water is very important to me, if it's by boat or by the beach or by the wetlands. And that's why we live out here. We don't live up west where there's concrete all around us. We live where there's water all around us. And it's very important to me to make sure, you know, there's no division street. We're all one group of people, and we can access the water some way, somehow, some way.
Okay.
No. 100K agenda to get through.
Can start this
We
all over
really
again.
have two.
No, and then you have another one right behind her.
I know.
We
No,
can't, because if you speak, then the next person speaks, and the next person speaks.
Really-
We also have a 100-page agenda we have to.
We're setting a public hearing, right?
Yeah,
Setting
we
a
are
public
setting
hearing.
a
You can come
public
speak at the
hearing.
public hearing at the next meeting at 6 o'clock on February 20.
Are we to understand that you're making a motion right now to make whatever resolution you just proposed?
Yeah, we're doing a
This is not
public
a
hearing.
the public hearing was closed. We're now gonna move on to our agenda with our votes on things, and we're gonna schedule a public hearing for February 24th at 6 PM to speak about a MECOX permit.
Yeah.
To amend,
Proposing to be at $150.
$150, correct.
the goal is to have an amendment to what is being passed to find some middle ground.
Well, in my humble opinion, once we lose something, it's very rare to get it back. So, you know, the fact that we're not really, I mean, everyone's saying they're negotiating in good faith, I'm not feeling the love.
We have a responsibility
We
to
have a public
Southampton
hearing.
town taxpayers that we
Well,
have.
well, we also, and again, remember, Sag Harbor Village is so unique in the sense that
I'm not saying you're not.
So if we're gonna make, we could make the Southampton side of the town pay 60%, you know, like, you can divvy it up the way you want.
we will have a public hearing, depending what the folks, you and everybody else say at that public hearing will affect the vote we take as to whether or not this is acceptable
February
for
24th.
enough
24th
people
at
to go
6
for it.
When you say like you can go to East Hampton, just recognize that we have to leapfrog over East Hampton Village. And our closest one, and I appreciate, I did the Google map too. And yeah, on paper, it says 11 miles. But when you translate that into summertime traffic.
The same traffic that our Southampton town residents have to traverse to Sag
That
Main.
still equals like an hour.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I move to close public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, everybody, and we'll move forward with the resolutions now. Just wait till people leave. Okay. Can we get us started, Councilwoman McNamara?
Town Board Resolution 247 of 2026, amend the 2026 Parks and Recreation fee schedule.
All in favor?
Aye.
Regrettably, aye. But we will be working to follow that up, right?
And there's a resolution
Sorry,
right
who's the
after this
second?
to schedule the public hearing to
It wouldn't
revise
need,
it.
the public hearing as it's written wouldn't require us to amend this. It's written into the resolution. We wouldn't have to amend the fee schedule once it's adopted.
Oh,
Want to want to just jump into this one now?
Do you want to take that one out of
Take this out
order?
of
and
order.
Just schedule it?
Where are we going? All right, you have to do the next one first?
Oh, yeah. You do the next resolution first. So we're done with this one?
Everyone voted, I believe.
So Town Board Resolution 228 of 2026, resolution to adopt amendment to Chapter 111 in connection with special parking permits.
Can I remove my name off of that one?
We all agreed to sponsor this, so.
You want,
Second.
You want to remove everybody then?
I'm just removing my name, that's all. I'm gonna support it. Yeah, remove my name from the sponsor, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was 228, right?
And then we're going to skip to motion, I guess I need a motion to take this out of order? Sure.
Second to take out of order.
It's Resolution 405 of 2026, which is the third walk on.
Co-sponsor?
so you're
Sure.
making a motion.
Yeah.
Who's the second to take it out of order?
You're already on here, Michael. Isn't it? The public hearing, or no?
Is the whole board going to sponsor this public hearing notice?
Yes.
Did
The
you
whole board is
vote
sponsored.
on the out of order yet?
Nope.
No. Oh,
Trying to keep
Marie's
track of the
gonna-
bouncing.
Same
up.
Here it
second?
is, here it is.
Marie's got a call vote.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Take it
Let's
out of
take it
order.
out of order. Thank you. Okay, on the resolution.
All right, Town Board Resolution 405 of 2026, notice of public hearing to consider amending Town Code Chapter 111 as it relates to a particular parking permits. That is for a $150 permit at Mecox.
Second?
And that doesn't mean that's where we end up, but that's where
No,
we're
that's the
putting it.
public hearing, and that's February 24th at 6 PM.
Yeah.
It was sponsored by the whole board.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you to the sponsor for allowing us to do that. And for your work on bringing that forward, too. No, thank
The
you,
liaison to Parks,
thank you,
you're welcome.
thank you. What?
I feel like
Thank
I
you,
can
Kristen.
amend
Thank you for
this
coming.
Anyway, without. I don't know. Okay, so mine is next. All right, Town Board Resolution 2026-0051 to authorize purchases and installation fencing with Residential Fences Corp. using Suffolk County contract
I was saying number as indicated.
As indicated, and Eastern Suffolk BOCES contract number as indicated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Resolution 2026-0115, authorized purchase of miscellaneous highway construction from Laser Industry, Inc., Rosemark Contractor, Inc., Suffolk Pavement Corp., National Water Main Cleaning Corp., Blink Contractor LLC, using county contract number MHC 011525.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0251 to recall and amend Resolution 2025-628 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract extension for Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles with Otis Ford.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tom, is there another resolution you're waiting on?
No, I just wanted to, listen, I don't, I'm just making a statement.
Come on up, yeah,
on up.
come on up.
We took that out, because I didn't want you to sit here all night going through this.
Listen, I sympathize, these are very difficult decisions you have to make, and I know there's more to it than just simply saying, okay, you got it, I get it, I understand it, I'm part of government, I know how it works. Did you say that the first responders will still have the
Yes.
ability, regardless of
Yes,
where they live?
regardless of where they live.
I appreciate that greatly, as a first
They
responder.
respond to fires
Not
in
not that I'm gonna
Southampton
get a
and-
sticker for SAG Maine,
No,
I
and-
would give it to one of my residents if I could.
No,
but-
and we know that we have an issue with, getting people in and to
Right,
retain
so I
them. and
appreciate that, thank you very much, and I'll let them
Yeah.
know, because they were asking me.
They will be covered no matter what.
They're covered.
You might get a recruit on.
And maybe we'll get some beach
It
attendants.
does help, Bill,
You
believe it
never
or
know.
not, it does help.
Sure.
So
Michael,
thank
that's the whole
you
thing.
for considering, and hopefully we can move forward on this. And like I said, I sympathize, you have to take everything into account, I realize that. So, thank you, and thank you for giving us
We
the,
understand your
letting us
advocacy.
use the permits in the past. Hopefully, in the future, we can come to some agreement somehow.
Yep.
But I understand what you're up against now.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0254 to reject all bids for supply plumbing supplies to the town.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2026-0259, authorized purchase from Northeast Sweeper and Rental, Inc., using Sourcewell contract number 062425-FAY for street and specialized sweeper relating equipment, accessories, and supplies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 261 of 2026, authorized purchases from Watchfire Signs LLC using Sourcewell contract as indicated for scoreboards, digital displays, and video board with related services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2026-0262, authorized purchase of gas and cylinder refills and rental using Suffolk contract GRR 032824.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2026-0268 to authorize the supervisor to renew the town's maintenance agreement with Printer Logic, Inc. for digital document management software.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Resolution 2026-0271, award and authorize the purchase of one 2026 Ford F-350 from Otis Ford using New York OGS contract for vehicles Class 1-8 statewide.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2026-275, recall and amend resolution number 2025-950, authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract extension with CDLI.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2026-0276, authorize the purchase of a Caputi four-wheel drive utility tractor from Magleys Equipment, Inc., using Sourcewell contract 032525-AGI for road right-of-way maintenance equipment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 277 of 2026, co-sponsored with Councilman Neely, authorize the renewal of landscape software government-based subscription with Dendroika LLC for Community Preservation Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is sponsored with the Marie Morton supervisor with me. Resolution 2026-0278, authorize supervisor to sign any and all documents with clothing bin or no-cost textile recycle program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is sponsored with Michael Silla, with myself. Resolution 2026-0284, authorize supervisor to sign contract with L.K. McLean Associate Engineer and Survey, DPC, for professional engineer service associated with the design and permit for stormwater quality improvement of Tanner Neck Lane in West Hampton, New York.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0291 to authorize the supervisor to sign any and all documents with Andrews Technology HMS, Inc. for the renewal of UKG web-based time and attendance software.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 292 of 2026, co-sponsored with council members Neely, Iacili, and Pell. Authorize the supervisor to sign any and all documents with CLIO Themis Solutions, Inc. to provide professional services and property acquisition management software for Community Preservation Office.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0293 to authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with Source Pass Contemporary LLC for upgrade to wireless security management software.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Town Board Resolution 2026-0312 to authorize the supervisor to sign a 2026 agreement with Munistat Services, Inc.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 313 of 2026, co-sponsored with Councilman Neely. Award and authorize supervisor to sign a license agreement with Comfort Farm for 93 Butter Lane, South Bridgehampton, farming proposal. RFP number as indicated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 314 of 2026, co-sponsored with Councilman Neely. Award and authorize supervisor to sign a license agreement with Brian Bistrian for 834 Town Line Road, Sagaponic, farming proposal. RFP number as indicated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0318, co-sponsored by Councilmember Iacili, to authorize an amendment to the contract with Nelson & Pope for professional services related to building improvements at the Southampton Town Police Department to include construction administration services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0320, co-sponsored by Councilmember Iacili, to declare items surplus and to authorize the disposal of vehicles and equipment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 329 of 26, authorize the execution of an application for 2026 New York State Office of Children and Family Services for juvenile delinquency prevention programming.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 330-26, authorize an application to Suffolk County for the 2026 funding for youth development programs to be administered by the Youth Bureau.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 331-26, authorize the supervisor to sign a grant application for the 26 New York State Office of Children and Family Services funding for sports education programs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0364, to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Cullen and Danowski LLP for the 2025 and 2026 annual audit of the Community Preservation Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2026-0371, authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Sound Marine Service and Supply, Inc. for repairs to pump out boat.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0376, to recall and amend Resolution 2026-0174, authorizing a settlement of the litigation matter Anthony Miller, Kendall Gamble, Corey Mims, Linda Pickney, and Maurice Richardson versus the Town of Southampton et al. Under index number 032516 of 2007.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0315, co-sponsored with Michael Isola. Notice to bidders for Bay Avenue East Improvement, bid number BP 2026-0008.
BP for Bill Pell. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to amend Resolution 321 of 2026, notice to bidders for landscaping plant cultivation service at various town locations.
Second.
To
I have it, it's in red.
to amend it to,
To add that they can bid on east of the canal, west of the canal, or both.
oh, okay.
Second.
I seconded the amendment.
All in favor?
Aye. Resolution 321 of 2026.
As a resolution. You voted on the amendment?
Yep, now I'm voting on I'm doing the resolution.
On the same resolution? Okay.
Resolution
Moved on.
321 of 2026, notice to bidders for landscaping and plant cultivation services at various town locations, bid number is indicated.
As
Same-
amended.
Same second.
As amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0332 to amend the 2026 adopted budget for highway equipment purchase.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Town Board Resolution 2026-0333 to amend the 2026 adopted budget for the Highway Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0335 to amend the 2025 budget for various departments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 323-26 to appoint, co-sponsored with Councilmember Neely, to appoint Community Housing Fund Advisory Board for 26.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Town Board Resolution 325 of 2026, appoint members to the East Quogue and Flanders Riverside Northampton Citizen Advisory Committees for 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 327-26, co-sponsored with Councilperson Pell, to appoint members to the Hampton Bays, West Hampton, and Noyak Citizens Advisory Committees for 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So Noyak has the Civic Council and a CAC?
Yes,
Different members?
yes. There's like 4 or 5 people that are part of the CAC.
Blake and Flanders. It's good.
Resolution 2026-0334, appoint members to North Sea, Watermill, and Southampton, Tuckahoe, Shinnecock Hills Citizens Advisory Committees for 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0356 to appoint a Labor Management Committee for 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Town Board Resolution 2026-0286 to authorize the continuation of legal services by Sokolov Stern LLP to represent the interests of the town as it relates to litigation matter entitled Mendizabal Soto et al. Versus the Town of Southampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0287 to authorize the continuation of legal services by Vincent Toomey Esquire for 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 301 of 2026, co-sponsored with Councilman Pell, a local law enacting a new Article 6B entitled Hotel Development Overlay within Chapter 330 of the Code of the Town of Southampton, adding sections 330-34.5 through 330-34.10 for the discretionary review of small-scale tourist accommodations in highway business zoning districts.
Second.
I just want to make a note that after we had our draft review, it was amended to add a third public hearing notice, a public hearing date that was held. It's already in there.
So are we having another public hearing on it? No.
So on the motion, does anybody have any comments?
Yeah, before we vote, I'd like to say that I still have concerns about this particular legislation with regard to the overlay district and how it would work. I think there are problems with that, as well as some particular items within the legislation. I also have a concern about proceeding with additional overlay districts unless and until we get to a broader discussion of zoning within the town. I think we need to be looking at our zoning whole town-wide as opposed to kind of patching here or there. The housing overlay district, I could understand because of the need we all feel for creating more housing. This one, I don't believe, has quite that need behind it, and I think we are getting into this overlay district area, which is a whole new area for the town to get into, and I'd like to see how the housing overlay district works before we proceed with any other kinds of overlay districts. So I'm going to vote no on it.
Well, I would be more comfortable if we had some additional conversations about the composition of the law itself. You know, I mean, we talked about just changing the definition of hotels so that it, because it's so restrictive now, to allow it to go into the highway business. But then there were concerns raised about that, but I just feel like I haven't had the opportunity to really have the concerns fully addressed. So I'd like to postpone the vote so that we can have further discussions on it.
Do you want to table it?
I'd be open
Yeah.
to
I
a
mean, is that,
table.
or do you want to withdraw it? I mean, what do you
No,
want
I
to do?
mean,
I'd be open to a
I would
table.
like to table it and just,
Till the next meeting?
yeah. Do you think that's enough?
Or
time?
until the first meeting in March?
Maybe the 26th
First
of
meeting
March.
in
So I
March.
move to table this till the first
24th.
meeting in March, which is March 10th at 1 PM.
Okay. And
Do you
then we
think,
can.
do you think that we might need more time than that? I mean,
I mean, at that point, if we need more time, I think we need to rethink the whole thing. I mean,
well, when is that, March 10th? That's really not that far away.
it's a month.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to do a deep dive on this. I agree with some of Tom's points.
Get it done before my birthday,
When's your birthday?
March 11th.
I don't know. I think we need, we may want to have another work session just to kind of go over what we have.
To have another work
And-
session after we close the public hearing is really not correct or fair.
I mean, I think what we are dealing with a very big piece of legislation, and I don't think that should be, scoffed at as, and not from you, just saying, disregard it as, we could just move on with it. It's a big piece of legislation. There's a lot of implications. The planning board had their comments. I'd like to review in a more analytical fashion what some of their comments were and really look at that. And I don't think that another work session is a bad idea of, thinking about this in a different way if possible. But it's up to you all. I mean, I think maybe the March 24th meeting might be a little bit, that might leave us some more room to really have the time to take a look and have the discussions necessary to figure out how we want to move forward with it, to really be successful.
Well, I think, for me anyway, I mean, we've looked at doing this, bless you. We've looked at doing this in different ways. Why are we looking at these floating zones? I know the planning board, said they didn't like PDDs, but in the same aspect said, well, if it's over X amount of units, maybe there should be some community benefits, which is a PDD. So I just feel like, why are we getting more of these floating zones? We're getting these floating zones because we have great potential for things in our communities that, like community housing, like hotels, that if we do a broad over code, we were looking at, I don't know how many sites, 2,000 sites that this would potentially fall into, leaving us no,
Room for.
we couldn't say yes or no. This at least gives us the discretion to say, is it fit, does it fit in the current area, is there community support? If you put it into a code and you put it into a zone, we all know how that goes, and then it goes before the planning board, and then the planning board has people screaming at them because we don't want that there.
Well, and maybe this is why we need another work session. The way this reads, and I've done some reading on overlay districts, the way this reads is we adopt the code, and then the applications come to the town board for the initial review and approval. What I've read, overlay districts is that the legislative body, the town board, approves the code, and the applications go to the planning board. This goes to the planning board after the town board has already looked at traffic mitigation, at least a cursory site plan review, which is the responsibility of the planning board, not the town board. That's where, some of where I have issues, and that's where maybe we need, having another work session might be helpful. And this is, the second overlay district. I don't want us to, fall in love with overlay districts.
It's
Dennis, would you like to say a few things?
It's pointed criticism, I get it, I just, this is what we're already doing when people come to the town board for a change of one, a zone change. Zone changes applications used to go to the ZBA, they now go to this body because a former board decided that it should be elected people that are accountable to the public that should be making these decisions, and I don't feel that putting some things before the planning board is appropriate or fair, because like in BES, we changed the whole BES code to have those larger projects that we knew were gonna have pushback from the community come to this board so that we can say yes or no, and it gives us, we have, we can say yes or no, the planning board can't.
Well, it was the planning board that recommended the best moratorium to the town board.
Because they got hammered by people coming to them because it was placed in a zone that it went to them, and they didn't have the authority to say, you can't put this here, because as the code read, everything was within that code.
Well, and I think that's another part of it. Have we looked hard enough at our current zoning code to see if there are changes we could make in our current zoning code I don't want to, over dramatize it, but we did an overlay district for community housing, which I think 100% or 99% agreement in the town, we need affordable and workforce housing. Do we need to do this? Is there such an impetus, that we need to go ahead and do this? And what's next that's coming down the road that we're going to say we need an overlay district for? And pretty soon, overlay districts, become, common. And
that's,
I don't know how they're going to operate.
Well, I think that's maybe the question we need to sort of dive into more is, from my understanding, we were reviewing the comp plan. We were having discussions about updating the comp plan. And now we're doing the overlay. And I get it, especially as far as the community housing overlay. It was a great plan. And by the way, I want to thank Janice for all of her work on it.
Yes.
Great work on it.
Yes.
But as Tom said, there was an impetus. There was a real incentive for the housing overlay because of the crisis that we face. I just worry if this might deter us from a real comprehensive update to our master plan.
Oh, yeah, that won't happen,
No.
but but I do agree with what you're both saying, but just want you to know, Janice and I have a call scheduled with the grant writer to
Great.
get additional funding for the comp plan update, but it will be, a couple of years at least in the making, so I understand that we might want to make some changes.
All I'm asking is, I think if we could give a little bit more time to have internal discussion as well as conversations with our community members, I think the March 24th meeting would be a lot more efficient to give us that time to have the internal discussion, possibly have a work session if we feel like it's necessary after we have those internal discussions, and then, of course, collaborate with the community and get some of their input a little bit more. I just think that having that time frame is a lot more appropriate than moving to an initial March meeting.
A 2-week delay, if you will.
Yeah.
For legislation of this impact, I
Yep.
think is, time well spent.
Sure.
Well, and, because somebody suggested maybe we could work with the existing zoning with making changes to say maybe a small scale, medium scale, large scale, in different areas. I just think that maybe there's a way to address it without having it be a floating zone.
Maybe I'm more comfortable with it because I've sat through change of zone applications. To me, a change of zone application is the same thing as a floating zone, right? You're taking a zoning district and you're changing it to another use based on a project that comes before you. It's basically a floating zone, right? People come to us and they say, I want to have a repair shop in this. It's not zoned for this. Please change my zoning. And we elect to consider that. This is the same process as a change of zone. So, granted, there's more to it, but to me, this has more parameters and more set things. And like I said, maybe I'm just more comfortable with it because I've gone through the process and seen, the amount of documentation and the studies and everything that we get, that we seriously look at and read, or at least I do, to make decisions on to whether or not we even consider moving forward with the project. Because don't forget, this all has to go to and elect to consider with community input, just like the Community Housing Fund overlay district, just like a change of zone, just like anything else that comes before us, Monte Calvo with the asphalt, those are all floating zones, right? They're all changing a zone to something that's not permitted there.
But this might be just changing the definition of the hotel where it's already approved in the highway business.
I'm fine with, I will, as Bill and I responsive, as long as Bill's okay with it, I will table it to the 10th, and if we need to table it further, we can table it again at that
I'd like
meeting.
to table to the 24th. I think it's just more appropriate for us to have the internal conversations.
I'm gonna table to the 10th, and then we can table it again if we need
Yeah,
to.
let's do the 10th, then we can always add it to the next meeting, because.
The 10th is a month. If you need more time than a month, we'll table it again till the end of the month.
We can table it again. And I think a work session makes sense.
All right, so then we have the motion to approve and a second, so we need to take a
Now,
vote on that.
No, we
Oh,
don't.
you wanna
So I'll
just
table it. I'll just
table
table
it?
it till
Are
the
we
10th.
going to be able to have a work session between now and March 10th? I know people's schedules get busy.
We have
Only next
AOT.
week.
That's why I'm saying there's
but,
association of towns. We don't have enough time to do what we want to do, to be able to have those internal discussions.
First meeting in March?
This week and next week are pretty full, but March
The first Thursday in
5th
March.
is available, I believe.
Okay, I'm assuming that's okay.
And then in between now and then, you can all have your internal discussions. It's nothing stopping you from doing that. It doesn't have to be public. You can talk to Janice, you can talk to planning staff,
Yeah, that's what we should do.
and then we'll have the work session on the 5th. And if on the 10th you want more time, we'll table it again.
I'm all right with that. So, motion to table,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And I do want to thank Councilwoman McNamara for all her work on this, and Janice and her
Yeah,
department. I
yeah.
know you've put a lot of time into it, so
Yeah, thank you
don't
for
want
bringing it
to,
forward.
don't want to diminish that.
No, not at all. I mean, I want you all to feel comfortable with it. Like I said, after doing change of zones for going on 5 years now, I think I'm just a little more comfortable with the process.
And I think the board should have the last say in something like this on a hotel, not a planning board or,
Well,
because it really.
we may replicate the work session or our discussions, but my concern is where it goes from the town board to the planning board. You know, I think there's a very, fuzzy area there, and, we had an experience west of the canal a few years ago where a major development went from the town board and then to the planning board, and
And
it-
can I just say,
Tom, if you could, please, for my own, just give me the brief so I can understand the
Okay.
issues that were there, so
Why
that
don't we talk?
maybe we can address them.
We'll talk.
Okay.
Sounds like the plan.
I just want to make another point about
And I
the,
want to say too, that this board, as a whole, has been way more proactive in involving the community before we make these
absolutely.
decisions.
And actually, my comment is on that note. Whereas, because Bill just mentioned, something about what was your comment about the planning board?
He thinks this board should make a
He
decision.
thinks that we should make the decision, not the planning board. On that, I understand that this board is very good at what we're doing. We are very open and transparent and engaging with the community. That encompasses the priorities of this board. But, for some of the folks out there to think about into the future, if this board has a different set of priorities 8 to 10 years from now, and those decisions are going to this board,
They changed the
I
code.
think, I think that's an important consideration. That's why I think there's some need for pause. And the planning board is, yes, they're unelected, but they're non-political. And not to say that, and that's the great thing about this board. We put politics aside. And, I think that's great, and the public has benefited from us working together on that. But in the future, you don't know where that would go, So I think, if we're looking at taking a step away from what would normally go before the planning board, I think we have to look at it more holistically. That's just my
And
view.
I think, to build on that, the pushback we have gotten from the community, the comments in opposition have been that, they don't feel comfortable with the town board deciding where exactly to place these hotels. And that
Or
we
anything
should
else.
enter into a plan, a plan for the zoning of where they could go that would meet the needs, but not overwhelm the community. So that's a tall order that Janice is gonna help
We
us
had, we
figure
had
out.
that conversation, and to limit it like that, then you're getting into spot zoning by saying you can have it here and here and here in this zone district, but you can't have it in all the other 200 locations.
No, but if you do a zone and not just a parcel, that's what I think people are concerned about, that we're being able to spot it wherever we feel is appropriate versus this is our long-range plan and this is the zoning for it and these are the areas in which we think hotels should be, and then the market forces regulate what goes
But the
there.
trouble is, you might have 5 applications for one street. Does Bridgehampton want to have 5 new hotels in that area?
Yeah, but
Does
you-
Hampton
you-
Bays want 6 more plus the Bordy Barn?
Right, but we're being told that if somebody wants, if it goes in where the Bordy Barn is, and somebody puts an application in for, say, the Macy's, that we can just say, no, we don't want it because the community doesn't want it, because it's gonna hurt the one that already went in. And I don't think you can do that,
So we're
right,
making
Jim?
economic-
Even though
yeah.
you're allowed to have floating zones, you still have to You can't
Open
just base,
competition.
it,
Right, I mean,
or
competition
open
can't be the sole
competition.
reason for your decision, but obviously it's something that you can consider, but it can't be the sole reason. It can't be saying, well, we don't want to hear because it's going to impact directly the other operator. That's not really
We
there
have
has to
too
be a
many
planning basis
hotels
for
too
it.
close together, we don't want them,
Right.
that's what the, I don't
Well,
think you can
that,
do
you know, that could be somewhat of a planning basis, and
So
then.
how big is the zone that you're gonna put these things into? If it's a downtown that you're saying this is the zone it fits in, then you can have as many as you want, and that, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like the
We'll have the
cannabis,
discussion.
maybe it's like the cannabis where you say you can't have it within this
So we need
much
until March
space
24th.
of the existing one. Is that would be legal?
but then you have like Riverhead, where you have a hotel operator that had land and they built a hotel and it was profitable and it did well, and they wanted to open one next door because they're the same operator, and it fit, and the community, I guess, was okay with it, and they put one right next door. I mean, it's,
Yeah, I mean, right. Sometimes that could be beneficial, right, because then that area becomes known as a place for people to come and stay, but,
Yeah.
right. Listen, it's the reason why this hotel zone hasn't been changed and addressed in years. It's a
why,
difficult issue.
it's why the diner is now a
Yeah,
radiology
unfortunately,
office.
yeah, lost that spot, but.
Well, yeah, that was unfortunate.
Ultimately, the planning board will, if you keep it the way it is, or the planning board, ultimately, whatever you do from the town board makes their decision, then obviously, the planning board will review any application as well. You'll never be skipping the planning board, whether you give the planning board the direct power or the town board decides to make a decision on something. It's always going to be reviewed by the planning board for the site plan considerations. So,
Well,
you know.
and that's part of where my concern is, how far does the town board go in making what are, in essence, site plan decisions? And then.
I kind of feel like we just had the work session.
But we're gonna,
Well, so for those
gonna talk.
reasons, I mean,
You
we're
want to just
all,
invite Janice up to the table and we'll just hash it out now?
Janice, bring your documents.
maybe we finish the resolutions today and
No.
right, but so you can see that everybody's still a little uncomfortable, so we should have, it's a good idea to
I think
just keep
internally, like, I went through the other options that we have available to us, and there's really no other viable option to
Well, let's review them again.
And maybe, maybe we'll end up in
figure it
the
out.
same place, but we'll give
Okay.
ourselves a little
And
more
I'll
time.
read,
on.
We'll do
All
something
right.
to it.
Town Board Resolution 247 of 2026, waive a portion of the showmobile and generator fees for the West Hampton Chamber of Commerce Fall Festival on Me.
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0263 to authorize the supervisor to sign a non-generator certification form for the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority regarding low-level radioactive waste.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0265 to authorize the supervisor to submit a grant application for the Household Hazardous Waste State Assistance Program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 273 of 2026, waive a portion of the showmobile and generator fees for West Hampton Chamber of Commerce Spring Fling Festival.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0345, co-sponsored by Councilmember Iacilli, to authorize the supervisor to sign any and all documents related to the Federal Equitable Sharing Agreement and certification.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0264, to authorize the town supervisor to sign the New York State DEC Waste Transporter Permit and Annual Report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 114 of 26, authorize the Youth Bureau to attend the 2026 Association of New York State Youth Bureau's Annual Youth Leadership Forum.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 236 of 26, to attend the DCJS Firearms Instructor Workshop in Westchester, New York.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 238 of 2026, to authorize attendance at the New York State Association of Chief of Police 2026 Training Conference.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Town Board Resolution 2026-0270 to termination in the Municipal Works Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0296 to appoint Skylar Virginia to the Geographic Information Systems Technician 2 position in GIS.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0298 to appoint Seth Race to Senior Planner, position in Land Management.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Well deserved.
Yes. Town Board Resolution 2026-0299 to appoint Matthew Curty to Maintenance Mechanic 2 position in Parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0300 to appoint Peter Lewis to Audio Visual Production Specialist in Education and Government Cable.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Town Board Resolution 2026-0302 to prefer charges and ratify a suspension.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0317, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to promote Police Officer Andrew Blodorn to rank of sergeant in the Southampton Town Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0319, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to promote Police Officer Joseph Capabianca to the rank of sergeant in Southampton Town Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And those swearing in will happen tomorrow at the award ceremony for the police department.
Okay, great.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0322 to appoint Dion Mitchell Hope to minibus driver position in senior services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2026-0326 to appoint Jose David Schottenhamel Vergara to driver messenger position in senior services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 327 of 26 to authorize the Youth Bureau Youth Bureau attendance and transportation to the New York State YMCA Youth and Government Conference.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think the Youth Bureau's coming to our work session this
Yes.
week or next week to talk about these trips. It'll be interesting. Town Board Resolution 2026-0346 to appoint Ryan Abrahamson to Public Safety Dispatcher 2 position in the Southampton Town Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 353 of 26 to authorize attendance at the 2026 Leadership and Counterterrorism Alumni Association Conference.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And congratulations to all those appointments and promotions.
Yes.
It's really good.
Yes.
Resolution 2026-324, this is a notice of public hearing amending Southampton Town Code Chapter 330 entitled Zoning by adding a new Article 13A entitled Land Disturbance Ordinance.
Second.
All in favor?
Support hearing from the public.
Yeah, could I be added as the sponsor to that, please, Sunday?
I'm sorry.
The land disturbance, yes, please.
Now we have the walk-ons. The Town Board Resolution 2026-0393 to reallocate Community Organization Specialist title to the new grade.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 404 of 2026, authorize supervisor to sign contract amendment with Passport Labs, Inc. to furnish and install integrated parking management.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We did 3.
Okay, and Town Board Resolution 2026-0409, it's the warrant number 3, capital number 3, CPF number 3, dated February 10th, 2026. And
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
And Town Board Resolution 2026-0412 to terminate a minibus driver in the Housing Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, so if there's no other comments, then move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.